Thank you. We're going to begin. Welcome. I call to order the Town Council Budget Work Session. This is our third night. We've been here Monday, Tuesday, and here tonight, and we have Town Council meeting on Monday and another budget work session on Wednesday. So, needless to say, we don't have a social life, but the date is Wednesday, March 5th, and the time is 6:35, and we do have some performers in the audience, but I won't ask them to sing the national anthem. If we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. On the agenda for tonight, we have 2014-15 budgets. We're going to be dealing with human services, all the way to town debt service. We have the police department accounts to emergency medical services, and then we always, if there's any council member that would like any other matter of interest and concern, add it to the agenda. I know that there has been a request put in earlier for Wakefield Village Association to go first, but at this time I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Alford, and then maybe we can move on to Wakefield Village Association. Thank you.
I think what we're going to try to do is we've got 12 human service agencies and 10 private sector agencies that have requested funding. I think what we'll do is to invite up those folks that are here from the agencies, and then we can deal specifically with the agencies that don't have representation thereafter. But I know that Chris has asked if he could go first. I know he's got another meeting at 7 o'clock, so I would ask the representatives on behalf of the Wakefield Village Association to come forward. While they're doing that, I do want to make a couple of comments. One is that I've provided, Chris, you come right through.
Oh, all the way.
All right. I've provided
The table, right.
a level debt,
Chris.
a level requirement, funding levels for all of the different agencies. Because these agencies really are a preference and choice on the part of the council, rather than, because all of them do great work, it's not my place to really recommend adjustments either up or down for it. That's the position of the council. So any of the agencies that you have, we're providing the same funding levels as we have in the prior year. There's $147,000 that was adopted in the 13-14 year for the 12 different human service agencies. There was also a total of, I believe, I don't recall what the number was in total. Let's see. The outside agencies, $43,215. That's the same amount, so it's level funded because this really provides the council an opportunity in discussions in the community itself and with the organization representatives to determine whether there's revisions that are necessary. In prior years, there have been increases. There also have been decreases and adjustments, yet the bottom line usually stays relatively the same. But in starting out tonight, we're going to move forward with the outside contribution, and that would be for the Wakefield Village Association. Chris, you want to talk? The proposal is level funding into 2000, as I just mentioned. The association has requested a $6,000 appropriation for the 14-15 year.
And we're on N46, and the microphone is on.
Testing
Thank
the
you.
microphone. Very good. Okay, I'm here to represent the Downtown Merchants Association. We're also going by the Wakefield Village Association. We're in the process of making the change to that name. The organization represents currently approximately 40 of the businesses on High, Main, Robinson, and Columbia Streets in Wakefield. We meet monthly, and we undertake projects to maintain the visibility and the viability and ultimately the profitability of Main Street and the historic district in order to keep that that area that's a priority for the town functioning and keeping new people visiting and retaining the customers and tourists and citizens who value the historic Main Street. In the upcoming 2014 year, it is our plan to continue a number of projects that we've done in the past, including the installation and maintenance of festive lighting along the historic poles. I know that was a very popular thing that the organization did last holiday season in 2012. We did it again in 2013 and intend to continue maintaining and installing lights to that effect. We do maintain spring and summer flower plantings, fall decorations, and holiday greens in the flower pots and other garden areas from along that same corridor from Main High, Robinson, and Columbia. We have 2 ladies' night events, one in July and one in December, that are both among the most populated sort of sidewalk events in the town every year. We rent and maintain the portable bathrooms while we all wait for the comfort station to be completed. We anticipate at the very least this summer having to have those facilities that we rent installed once again. Of course, there's the Halloween costume parade that happens every year where children dress up right around the holiday season. It's another opportunity for the citizens of Wakefield, not as much the businesses, but the citizens to come down and enjoy the historic district. And it is a project that we're undertaking this year to expand and really overhaul the way that we do the banners along the utility poles along that same stretch all the way down from Main Street. The exact end point hasn't been determined, but somewhere between the Stedman's corner and the Dale Carlia corner, all the way up towards past the Mews and along the High Street area as well, and Columbia. So those are the projects that we intend to either continue or begin this year. Our operating budget for the year is going to be in the $12,000 to $15,000 range. We have no overhead, we have no, it's an all-volunteer staff. There's no one who's paid off of the organization whatsoever. So all of that money goes directly into those projects. $6,000 to $9,000 of that will come from dues that all the businesses along the street do pay into the organization, but that's not enough to carry out all of those projects, as you can imagine. So we've requested $6,000. Our presence has increased drastically over the last 5 years, first under the leadership of Chick Gavitt when he was in charge, and now we've continued to grow the organization. Ken Tetzner, who's here, and myself are the heads of the organization right now. And so we believe that the $6,000 request is certainly justifiable by the work that we've done and the impact that we've had and anticipate having in the coming year. So I think that's a summary of everything. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions here at the town council table? Carol?
Yeah, Chris, the banners you're talking about, are those the banners that the chamber puts out?
No, the Chamber does an excellent job with banners across the entire South Kingstown area, and they have specific localities. I'm sure Elizabeth will be happy to speak to that in a while.
Those are the Christmas banners that they put out, right?
Yeah, I believe that is part of it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't want to speak to that because I'm not exactly sure.
So what are your banners?
So the plan is to, in the coming years, because those are actually an extremely significant expenditure, to have a summer seasonal banner as well as a holiday, and whether that's Christmas or not that's not a decision we're making this year.
Similar to like in Narragansett, they have the
Exactly.
towers.
Or if a lot of small tourist communities have
Nice.
done a lot of beautification with those, and that's something that we've talked about but never been able to do. But the organization has grown to the point that we think that's a project we can undertake this year.
Now, what about the fall festival? Are you going to do that again? Is that on the agenda?
So the Halloween festival, which we have done for years, is on the agenda this year. The Festival Fete is a project that we have facilitated, but is obviously it's its own entity. It's a corporation that comes in and uses it, and we've been the liaison to the town for them, and we expect to be involved in a similar way, but that's not an undertaking that we do really on our own. And so as long as the traffic conversation that happens at other tables goes well, I'm sure that we'll be involved with it if it is approved.
Okay, thanks.
Any other town councilor? Jim?
Hey, Chris, this bump up of $4,000 in December for Christmas lights, that's just the wrapping?
So the first year that we did it, we were able to do it for much less by spending much less on the lights, and every week we were out there replacing individual bulbs on Christmas strands like you've all done at home, except we were doing it on 24 historic lights. So the cost went up as we invested in more durable and environmentally friendly lights. But there are still costs associated with that every year. So,
So the 24, you said?
I'm sorry.
How many lights?
I believe this. Ken, do you know? Is it 24 poles? That's the number that's in my head, but it's. I believe it's 24. Yeah.
So just to go with those Christmas colors from a standard white light, that's $4,000 extra in December.
It's about 20 strands per tree.
And we have the lights up all year. There's a red and a white. Our strategy has been to unplug the red at a certain point for the summer and then plug them back in, but we have both up throughout the year.
Who gets billed for the electrical cost?
I'm not sure the answer to that. Ken, do you know the answer to that?
I'm not sure either.
We aren't the ones who sign the checks, so I'm not sure.
Steve?
Well, you know I love numbers. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I'm sure it's a local contractor, but I'm not sure off the top of my head who it is.
Holland, right? Would it be Holland Electric?
It's the town.
it does.
All right.
And,
Anyway.
I just, you know, how much do the renting of the portable bathrooms cost?
I believe that the first year that we did it with only one, it cost us $300 for the summer. It was a shorter season. I think last year we did two, and it was a longer season, so it was probably up around around $1,000. But again, I have an estimate on that from our treasurer, who is Mel from the Purple Cow, but I do not have the actual bank account in front of me.
Can't wait to see what you wrap the comfort station in for colors.
Yeah, the comfort station will certainly alleviate and provide new opportunities for decoration
Wouldn't
at the
have to
holidays.
worry.
Sorry.
Yes.
Well, I just want to add my 2 cents that driving down Main Street with all of the lights, is really a highlight of my tour through the town. And I'm glad to see that they're lit year-round as well. It's just a pleasure to see.
Thank you.
Any other comments from town council? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for accommodating my request.
We have
to
a
go
vote on
first.
this preliminary budget on March 17th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What I'd like to do at this point is to jump back to page 44. That starts the discussion for the council on the human service agencies, and then walk through the agencies for representatives of each of the agencies that are here to be able to issue comments. As far as human service agency assistance being provided by the town is concerned, we're right now providing 52.6% of all of the municipal contributions that go to these various agencies. Yet at the same time, the population served of South Kingstown residents is about 23.5%. So we, as a municipality, are providing our fair share in relation to what other communities have provided. On page 44, I've given you a detail as to the South Kingstown share of the total amount of money that's coming from municipals to each of the different agencies, as well as the percentage for each of the South Kingstown residents as a percentage of their total service area. So, as a for instance, we're paying 34% of the local funds associated with South Shore Center or the Gateway Health Center at this point, where our population of the service area is about 22%. So 22% of their client base is South Kingstown, yet 34% of the monies that's going from the various South Kingstown, Narragansett, Charleston, North Kingstown areas, the same service area, we're paying 34% of that income. So I think as you look through that list, you'll see that South Kingstown continues to be a leader in the direct contributions from various municipal governments. Having said that, I'd like to start out and ask, is there any representatives here tonight from Gateway Healthcare? If there's not, I would indicate that level funding has been proposed, as is the case with all agencies. This is a new name for the town council to review. Gateway is the South Shore Center, or what deals with specifically with with a number of the programs that they run that deal with psychological issues. There's a full packet of information that's available on the 9 different programs that they operate. If there's no one here, I'd like to move on to the next agency. Next agency is Home and Hospice Care of Rhode Island. Our contribution in the past has been $1,500. I think people are familiar with that organization. If there's no one here, next is VNS Home Health Services. The service level this year is at $24,000, proposed to remain at that level for the 14-15 year. Next agency is Thundermist, and I know that Thundermist has a representative with us tonight. Please come on up. Nicole Quindazzi is the executive director for Thundermist Health Center.
Hi, good evening. Welcome. Thanks very much for giving me a chance to address the council. Thundermist has a mission to improve the health of our patients and communities by delivering exceptional health care, removing barriers to that care, and promoting healthy lifestyles. We are a primary care organization. We're a federally funded community health center. We have medical services, 2 physicians, 6 nurse practitioners. We have full dental services, 2 full-time dentists, 3 dental hygienists. We also have behavioral health services, a psychiatric nurse practitioner, as well as 2 behavioral health clinicians, a nurse care manager, 2 social workers, and a full staff of RNs, medical assistants, dental assistants, medical and dental receptionists, and other administrative staff. So we have a presence right off of Main Street and have been a part of this community for many years, and very happy to be expanding our role in the very near future. We're under construction with our brand new facility. We received a federal grant to pay for that. The town's been very generous in the past, and the funds that we've received have gone towards providing free and discounted care to the residents of South Kingstown. Last year, we served 2,600 South Kingstown residents, and the services that were rendered had a value of $1.3 million just for the South Kingstown residents. Of those 2,600, about 2,600 residents, 922 received free care, 868 received a reduced fee, and 859 paid the full fee. So that is determined based on our sliding scale, based on their ability to pay.
Wonderful.
Any questions that I could answer?
Questions here at the town council table? Jim?
Yeah, the 2,600 number you gave to us, those are separate individuals, or those also
Yes.
include revisits?
No, those are unique patients, like each time, separate individuals, yes.
Thank you.
Carol?
No, I've worked with a couple of residents who've recently gone through your organization. You've helped them apply for Obamacare, and I think that's a great, because they don't know how to get through the system and find their way, so that's something you must be busy with right now.
Very busy. The open enrollment period started October 1st, and it continues through the end of March. And we have been, all of the health centers in Rhode Island were able to have staff go and become certified navigators through HealthSource Rhode Island and provide one-on-one sessions to help people as they come in from the community, whether they're our patients or not. Many are not, and may never become our patients, but they sit with one of our navigators, and sometimes it has taken hours. And it's really wonderful, some of the stories that we get from patients my staff will tell me, oh, you know, I had a patient come in today, and he was crying. He was so happy he received his health insurance card, and he never thought he would have that. And the doors that opens to people, it's really meaningful. So we're really proud of it.
And it seems to take a bit of time between sitting down with your navigators and then finally getting your healthcare card. Is that what you're finding?
There have been a number of stumbling blocks along the way, not from internally, but dealing with some of the website, the federal website, and also getting through to the call center at the state.
Right.
You know, they had some
That's it.
challenges as well. So we sometimes would have to have people come back multiple times.
Well, it's great, because both of these people had no insurance, and now one of them already has his insurance, and the other one is waiting, so.
Oh, that's great.
It's a great opportunity, and I thank you for assisting them.
Oh, thank you.
Other questions here at the town council
Yes.
table?
Have you seen your traffic increase?
The number of patients, yes.
Yes.
I don't have any numbers around that because people have just started getting their insurance. You know, in January it became effective.
I'm not talking about the Affordable Care Act. I'm just saying your patient load. Have you seen that
Yes.
increase over the years?
Yes, most definitely. And that's the whole reason that we're putting in a new building, because we don't have the space to bring in enough providers and staff to serve all the patients who want to come in. So we're expanding, we're doubling the number of exam rooms we have in our medical department. We're going from 9 to 18, and we're going to have 4 behavioral health counseling rooms. And, you know, we're still going to have our WIC department, and we're still going to have our quick care, and our dental is expanding as well from 7 operatories to 10.
So you're doing your part on affordable health care.
Thank you, I think we are. We're trying.
And what is the projected date for the building to be open?
We are hoping to move in October of this year.
October.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jim?
Doctors and dentists, a lot of pro bono work, or are they paid on a sliding scale also?
So are the doctors paid?
Yeah, how are they reimbursed by?
Oh,
Thundermist?
they're employees of Thundermist,
They're
so they're
employees.
salaried,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you.
All right. This is exciting, thank you.
Just one question. On the application, you indicate that you're asking for funding support from South Kingstown, Jamestown, and Charlestown. Are there applications to each of the other communities that you're providing service to?
I don't believe any of the other communities have opened up that to us. They haven't made funds available to us.
So you're not filing applications asking them for first-time consideration?
We have in the past, and we've been turned away. It's my understanding. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for that. I'm not sure which ones we have. I know the 3 that are listed, but I can check and get back.
I just think that you just provide an excellent service, and I'm just curious as to why other communities wouldn't be providing some type of support to offset some of the uncompensated services that are being provided.
Do you think that there's a misunderstanding there, Steve, with some of the towns, and is it worth a conversation, or no?
Well, I'm never bashful asking for money. I mean, all somebody can say is no. But I'm just looking at it, you know, in terms of where South Kingstown is, because we continue to grow our contribution as a percentage of total services. And we're not seeing that there's an increase in our population of the client base with a lot of the different organizations. And so it's just one that I think it's helpful for us to know that these agencies are looking for the support from the other communities as well. It's similar to what we spoke about last night in terms of care that we're providing through the Adult Day Services program, where communities have members of their community are being serviced at direct expense for that program. So it's just, as we go forward, I think it's something we need to look at, and hopefully the agencies will continue to, even if they're turned down, continue to ask for support based on the services that they are providing.
So if they have their budget meetings, I would show up if I were you.
Yes, I have to.
And we will put the word out. I'll be at a meeting, I believe, next Thursday with the Washington County Regional Planning Council, which is one member of each town council in the South County, and I will definitely bring that up at our conversation. Jim?
Yeah, that's why Steve painstakingly looks at how many percentage residents use your facility, and it's very important to us to know. You really should chase down those folks who are not contributing and yet whose residents are using this facility.
Absolutely.
It's very important that we're not carrying the whole load.
Yes.
Taking on to Jim's comment, I absolutely think that it would be really good for us to see a delineation in terms of the counties that use us, the towns that utilize your services. I think that would be important to see, because even if you get a no from them, it would be interesting to see how many people that you serve through Thunder Mist, and to go back to them and say, you know, we can.
I don't want this to appear as if I'm picking on Thunder Mist, because
Oh, no.
it's a question of with each of the different agencies. And it is a case where there has been, I mean, we've cut back to 147,000. At one time, I think we were up closer to 170,000 that was going out. With the recession being what it was, there's been reductions that have been made, and it may be that they've been more severe in the other communities. But it's still important, I think, for fundraising purposes, for you to continue to ask for the dollars.
I'd just like to say, to your benefit, that by signing up with these navigators, signing everybody up for insurance, you're going to have less and less uncompensated care, because they will be insured through the Affordable Care Act. So hopefully that'll reduce the amount of free service that you're giving.
Exactly.
Isn't that the idea?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next energy agency is Phoenix House. Phoenix House is the old Simpatico program. I don't know if there's anyone here. Just as an aside, South Kingstown's the only municipality providing any assistance to this agency, and has for several years, yet only 38% of the client base is coming from South Kingstown. So hopefully, Phoenix House is also going to at least make application to other communities to try to get some of the support that certainly they are deserving of. Next agency is the Johnny Cake Center, and I know Sue's here. We know that Johnny Cake will ask for money from anybody.
Thank you.
Welcome.
On behalf of the South Kingstown residents that do use our services, I want to thank you for your continued support. We're continuing to see 200 new families last year that came to us, and we might lose a few, and we keep adding more. The numbers are staggering, but we are very stable, so I'm happy to report that. Also wanted to point out that I dropped off a newsletter to all of you. It's our spring, and I use that term loosely now, newsletter, and it's hot off the press. On the front of it, there's an article that indicates how we spent the money that we budgeted for food. What we are very, very pleased and proud of is the fact that we are trying very hard to provide not only just food to people, but healthy food options. So last year we had our Healthy Harvest program, which is a farmer's market that we do in the parking lot. We get fresh produce all summer long. The clients can get it for free. We did a staggering 15 tons of produce in 15 weeks, and we plan to try to do that again this summer. The other thing that we did last year was our efforts towards those that are the most vulnerable, which are, of course, our children and our elders, is we changed our summer vacation meal program. You might know that's where when the kids are out of school, they get free or reduced lunch at school. Those families are coming to the Johnny Cake Center. Not as many as we would like to come, but there are a few that do come. And we actually took the program out to the community. So we went to 3 satellite sites in South Kingstown, 2 in Narragansett, and as a result, we increased 40% participation in that program. So we're going to try to do that again this year. That was funded by a grant through the food bank from ConAgra Foods for $10,000. That's not coming through this year, so we're going to have to struggle to figure out how we do that, but we are committed to that. And also, for our seniors, with the help of our friends at the Southern Rhode Island Volunteers, we're continuing to deliver food every Friday to folks that can't get to the food pantry. So we're going to continue that commitment to those folks. On the back, I wanted to point out to you, as you know, the Johnny Cake 40th anniversary was this year. And on April 22nd, 1974 is when the doors were first opened. So on April 22nd of this year, we're going to have an open house at the center, just to commemorate that important date, and we'd like you to come join us if you can. If not, we hope that you'll come see us again for Thanksgiving, because we love having you there with us to distribute turkeys and see folks that are coming in to visit us. Can I answer any questions?
Questions here at the table?
Sue, whatever happened with the cafe?
I knew I'd be asked that.
Oh, I couldn't.
The Board of Directors right now is doing a strategic plan, which I've been pushing for, because I won't be there forever, although they probably would hope sometimes I am, but I won't be. And I've asked them to do a strategic plan to see how all the things that we need to do fit. As you know, we're renting a space for our food pantry, and we're busting at the seams. So the cafe's part of that. It's my dream to get it done. I think it's the way to, feed people in a different venue than just a food pantry. So we are still working on it.
So did you ever come up with a location?
Not yet.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, it'll be nice when it opens.
It will be.
Other questions here at the table?
Yeah, increase this year percentage over last year is remained steady.
We're maintaining steady. It's been the same amount of meals. It seems to be tracking pretty historically now past 3 years,
Okay.
which is not good, but
No.
it is.
No.
We're greatly indebted for all that you do for our residents, really.
My job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next agency is the Kane Child Development Center. Do we have anyone here? If not, South Kingstown has made in the past a $9,000 contribution to the nursery school program. They operate out of the condominium with our adult day services program. We have 2 buildings there, the front building being the adult day services, and the new building in the rear is the nursery school. I think everybody's familiar with Kane's Daycare. That's been in operation since 1975, I think. The $9,000, they're also serving about 40 of our children from South Kingstown with the program. It's one of the, I believe, the only school that's in place now for preschool purposes that is working off of a sliding scale. So they continue to do their job. If we move on, the CAP agency has requested a $1,000 increase. They have asked for similar increases in prior years. Is there anyone here from CAP? If there's not, the CAP agency serves as an agency that really can administer a number of different programs and grants, and works with a number of different agencies. At this point, they're indicating that 20% of their workload is on a client base from South Kingstown, yet the funding that they receive is solely from South Kingstown and Westerly. So 46% of their funding comes from South Kingstown, with 20% of the client base. All of the surrounding communities, there are no contributions being made, even though there's some major dollars being expended in those communities for program performances. Next agency is...
Steve, South County Community Action, is that a statewide operation? Are there a number of,
Yeah, they administer
under
a
the one
number of...
umbrella?
They administer a number of federal programs, and will be grant recipient for a number of programs. They will provide services in combination with some of the other agencies. They've got home heating fuel. They do the code violation enforcement, reconstructions, those types of things. There's probably 15 or 18 programs that they're involved with in one form or fashion. That CAP agencies like this one is a local, there's a South County location, but the organization is much bigger than that. The size of the CAP agency, I believe their operating budget at this point is in the area of $6.5 million in this area, in the South County area. Statewide, it's much broader than that.
Right, the 6.5 million is what services are provided?
Yes, in this area.
They own that building next to, on this, was it, not Scallop Shell, was it South Road?
Yes,
not South
on
Road,
Kingstown Road,
Yeah, but they own that building, is that correct?
yes.
Is that all used by them, or are they in the world of making money and they rent out all those
I'm not
units?
sure exactly what their arrangements are at this point. At one point, they were doing childcare in the building as well. I'm not sure if that's still going on.
Do childcare, and they also have a facility on Route 2 in Charlestown as well. But they do childcare.
You know, Jim, some of the programs, it's distribution of USDA surplus foods, it's the home heating assistance program, it's financial assistance with, you know, for homeless or facing eviction with 2 months' worth of mortgage payments that they'll make. Winterization program for, you know, weather stripping, caulking, contracting.
And I've certainly seen some of the work, and I really appreciate that. A lot of folks need that, especially during the winter. But I was always confused after they bought that building up off Kingstown Road. What they spent, a couple $1 million for that? And it was,
Yeah, and they're paying out on a mortgage on that building. Sure. Which is not dissimilar to many of the agencies, Jim, in terms of the cost of leasing versus the cost of the acquisition
Yeah.
sometimes is in their best interest. Many times they're able to get preferred rates from the banks that they're dealing with.
Steve, where's the building that he's talking about, the CAP building?
I'm sorry?
Where is the building located?
It's across, in the general area, do you know where Louis Northrop's gas station is?
Yes.
On the opposite side of the street.
Oh, okay.
It's, and it's right next to the nursing home.
what's the nursing home called? I'm
South
absolutely
Bay Manor. South Bay Manor. It's right near South Bay Manor.
escapes me.
Are there any further questions? If not, the next agency is, let's see, the Welcome House. I know we have a representative here.
I like your sneakers, too.
Thank you. You
Great
have to-
sneakers.
Excuse me, I just got off of rowing machine, so I'm still a little jittery. But, Mr. Manager, thank you, and Council President,
Welcome to the Welcome House.
thank you. This is the second time I've been here before you. Last year, I introduced myself as the new chair. Made some pretty substantial progress this past year. We are again asking for a human services grant from the town. We have not asked for an increase this year, although we do acknowledge the increase from last year's request. This past year, Welcome House, as you may recall, we're a homeless shelter, soup kitchen, but we also have a very good housing program that we serve. We have 7 properties throughout Peacedale. This past year, we served over 5,000 bed nights for shelter guests. We have 17 shelter beds at our facility in Peacedale. 10 of them are for men, 6 women, 1 handicap facility. I do want to make mention that even with our shelter, we do unfortunately turn folks away, and it's something we're actually discussing at a board level. We've also reached out to the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency to talk about how we can manage the shelter better with additional beds, not trying to be a full-on, shelter. In the long term, we try to get folks housed, get them encouraged and employed. But we're fairly consistent with our services as a shelter. The soup kitchen, we've served over 15,000 meals this past year. 10,000 of them have been for the shelter guests. Another 5,000 goes directly to and through our soup kitchen for predominantly residents in Peacedale. We also provide a service with community service to the community, also including our shelter guests. They have to provide some community service back to the agency for exchange of services we provide. So that equates to about 4,000 hours over the course of the year, and I'm sure Mr. Alfred has his statistics. Predominantly, or proportionally, we do serve mostly South Kingstown residents. After that, it's Narragansett. And, you know, we've made some strategic changes at the board this past year. As you may know, we've gone through a few interim executive directors this past year, and we've just put things on pause right now. We've decided to clean house. We're actually in the 4th month of an audit that we thought would take about 4 weeks. It's just a lot of review and understanding, you know, bits and pieces, all the details that have compiled over the last 26 plus years. But we're confident we're going to have good recommendations that come out of that audit. But strategically, what we've done is we've not hired an executive director, and we've taken on some additional workload as board members in order to pay down operational debt that's accrued over the past, 10 plus years. Mostly funding that's going back to businesses in South Kingstown. It's a strain on staff, it's a strain on board members, but we've expanded our outreach, and we have a new development committee. We're actually meeting tomorrow night. We've set a goal to raise $100,000 through private donations to supplement our shrinking, federal, state, and very appreciated local donations and direct support. So, we're again here tonight to ask for your consideration of this Human Services grant.
I think the key here is to understand that it's not just the shelter itself, it's the 5 units that are affordable housing units that are available that they've got to not only maintain and collect rents on, but pay the mortgage on as well. That plus the meals program. So there's a number of things that are going on through there. CDBG grant money, hopefully, there was a good deal of money that was provided after the storm. I think each of the communities has got CDBG for about $4,500 that in the service area that's providing assistance with Welcome House at this point. Unfortunately, on general contributions, we've only got Narragansett and South Kingstown as contributing to the for general supports. But obviously, there's the other thing that is important to point out is that while we're giving them $8,000, they're also paying property taxes associated with the 5 units that are family units. Those aren't tax exempt. The only tax exemption that we provide is on the administrative space that they have and the shelter itself. So a goodly portion of what we give them goes in one door and out the other back to us as far as the payment in lieu of tax requirement.
To follow on a theme, Town Manager, we have asked both Town of Narragansett and Town of North Kingstown for additional support, direct support. Narragansett has replied that I guess that they don't have this program anymore. We did ask the Town of North Kingstown and felt like we'd heard back that we wouldn't be considered this year, but I nonetheless appealed to Town Manager Embury, and I would request that if you see him in your passings to have him consider that. Town of North Kingstown has supported us in the past directly with Human Services grants, so we will follow up with their council as well.
I can help you with that. I see Mike Embry, my business is in North Kingstown, so I will definitely help you with that.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Mention it to Washington County Regional Planning Council meeting next week as well. I know at one time, Ken, you were talking about analyzing space, and there was some attic space to add additional beds. Did that come to fruition?
Council President, what we've done, and Town Manager has kind of touched on this, we have applied for CDBG grants, not just locally, but we've expanded quite a bit. We've got 7 towns that are contributing to us directly. We do have funding, and as of yesterday afternoon, I spoke with a representative down in the planning department, where we do have some additional flexibility as to where those funds will get put. That is partially in part to this CDBG disaster recovery funding, which we're considering putting in an amendment to that original request. So what we have decided as a board is that we look at, first of all, energy efficiency programs in our units. As I may have mentioned last year, all the property we own, they're built in the 1800s. So you're going to see approximately, at this point, about $170,000 of federal money put back into all the properties in Peacedale over the course of the next year, year and a half. We're going to try to divert some of that money to that one unit you're talking about at the third floor at our shelter. And I've tried to talk to Rhode Island EMA about another grant to help support that. It wasn't a good fit, so we're going to pursue some other funding to see if that can happen.
Other questions here at the town council table? Jim?
Hey, Ken, early on you mentioned, give me the number 70. How many units do you have for overnight housing or long-term housing? I was confused between what you owned and who allowed you use of. Can you give me those numbers again?
Sure, forgive me. It was actually 7 properties throughout Peacedale, but we have
7 properties.
7 properties, but we have 19 units. 12 of them are the my cheat sheet. That's actually on my cell phone. 12 of them are the permanent supported housing. 7 of them are the transitional units. And your question would be an additional transitional unit that could get finished in the shelter. So we're looking to expand from a total of 19 housing units scattered throughout 7 properties to 20.
So there's 19 units. How many separate buildings there?
Well, so there's basically consider 5.
Okay.
So we have the shelter and the admin building. Take those out, we've got 5 other properties, 2 on Kersey Road, 1 in
I'm sorry,
Hygiene.
you don't give that away, but yes. Okay. And those are always full? I mean, especially wintertime, you don't have any vacancies, I assume?
Over the past year and a half, we have gone from less than optimal to almost completely full all the time. So it's a big push to keep people in the houses. Obviously, I mean, it's marginal from a business perspective, but it provides some revenue, so that helps us stay in operation.
And the majority are from South Kingstown?
Yeah, proportionally, yes. So it's hovering between 20 to 30%, give or take. Then Narragansett's next. So it's not over 50%, but considering all the different communities we serve, and I can get you separately a breakdown of all the communities we serve.
And then finally, what is long-term versus short-term versus overnight? How do you work with that?
So
Families, otherwise?
right. So the shelter will be, it's an emergency shelter facility. We don't like anybody staying there over 90 days. And right now, as I mentioned, we don't have an executive director. We don't have anybody in development. We have 2 people running the shelter. And we actually have, some former shelter guests do overnights and weekends. So bare bones, but 90 days in the shelter. It could be up to 2 years in those transitional units that I also spoke about, the 12 transitional units. And then beyond that, the permanent supported housing could be, for quite some time. We're actually talking about this in our properties committee, how we manage the flow of folks out of the shelter to transition to permanent supported housing. And this past year, thank you, I was allowed the opportunity to serve the South Kingstown Affordable Housing Collaborative. So Mr. Archambault is a great chair. It's a very lively group. So now I'm starting to appreciate the complexities of what to do when we get folks through the shelter. We obviously run up against an upper limit of permanent housing. So 90 days in shelter, could be up to 2 years in transitional, and then if you get into a permanent placement in one of our units, you could stay there for an unspecified period of time.
Other questions, Carol?
I just wanted to say, to your credit and the credit of your board, you had a very successful fundraiser at Spain's this year.
Very nice.
That would be something you should probably continue, and I'm sure you will.
Yes, Thank you, and we appreciate your support. We, like I said, we have a development committee meet tomorrow. We actually have 2 new fundraisers that we'll end up talking about in another month or so, but we've reached out even beyond South County. We see a larger vision as far as getting our financial house in order and then reestablishing connections to other nonprofits, doing more with less, and then broadening our donor base. So $100,000 is what we want to do for this year for donations. So we'll do it through 3 different events.
Great.
Other questions? Ken, I just want to applaud all of your efforts. I don't know how many hours in a day that you get it all done. It's somebody really is watching over you. You've got this shining star, so we truly appreciate all of your efforts on behalf of the town.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
support.
Thank you. Thank you.
I wouldn't go that far. The next agency is Domestic Violence Resource Center of South County. I know Mary had called today that she was not going to be available this evening. Just in terms of the background, South Kingstown residents served are about 18% of the total with that agency. That's about 199 South Kingstown residents. Contributions are coming from Block Island with 1,000, Charleston with 2,000, North Kingstown with 4,000, Richmond at 500, South Kingstown at 5,000, and Wesley at 5,000. So we're still putting in a good deal of money, but they have been effective in terms of getting support from the other municipalities. They're offering a hotline, a drop-in center, support group counseling, as well as residential services and court advocacy, and assisting in terms of comprehensive training for volunteers to work with the program. I think that council's well familiar with their program. Again, we've recommended and they've requested just level funding for the 14-15 year. If there's no questions, I'll move on to the Washington County Coalition for Children.
Steve, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
It's kind of off topic with that leftover CDBG grant money that came to fruition, and is that work got
The
accomplished?
CDBG money has come to fruition. There is a second grant that I think, still is pending, that they need to be approval. The final approval with, I think that CDBG won't be, it was delayed this year. I don't think it's going to be for another couple of months, but I really haven't kept track of it since we put the support on that application. We know that the state approved the pre-filing of that money,
Right.
but it was conditioned on a second grant being received, a federal grant. So I'm not familiar with how she's made out with that.
Thank you.
Okay, Washington County Coalition for Children, is there anyone here for that agency? They are asking for an increase to $1,000 from the $400 that they received from the town in the 13-14 year. I would note that this agency is really within the VNS, which is within the South County Hospital umbrella. The agency does not provide any direct services to a client base. What they do is they work with a number of organizations in terms of creating roundtables and different emotional literacy grant programs that they're involved with, all involving children's issues. I'm not well familiar with their programs at all. If there's no questions, we'll move on to the Education Exchange. Education Exchange received $2,500 in the current year. They've asked for a increase of $1,000 in funding for the 14-15 year. Please. Hi.
I'm Mary Patton. I'm the acting director of the Education Exchange. We are located in Peacedale in the Lily Pad Center. We have been in this facility for just over 3 years. You may have remembered the old facility. We were over in the Stedman building for the last 30 years, and we were at one time called the Washington County Adult Literacy Center. Our mission is to provide the highest quality remediation, GED training, and workforce training for Washington County residents. We are serving currently between the GED and our other programs around 75 students right now. Some of the programs we're offering are GED training, English as a second language, ESL Civics, which is citizenship, a teacher assistant training, computer training, work readiness training, and one of our latest programs, we are now a certified Pearson VUE testing center. This is a national testing facility where students now complete the GED exams, but also IT. So if you know someone who has an IT certification, let's say in Excel or Microsoft Office, we would be a place where they could come and complete that, that testing program. We're very, very proud of that new computer lab. It serves 18 people. I think one of the most rewarding things in being a part of the Education Exchange is seeing what happens to the people we serve. I think to summarize what we do, we believe in the power of education to change people's lives. And I think some people have some stereotypes about adults who never complete high school. And I think if anyone ever works with our GED population, those stereotypes get thrown out the window very quickly. For example, last year we had a young girl who had such a severe case of Lyme disease that she was unable to finish high school. We have a gentleman this year who was in his 30s and went through school with very severe learning disabilities that were never diagnosed. And so once he has the opportunity to work with our teachers, some of who are certified as learning disabled teachers, and to find out what the issue is, then we were able to put a curriculum together for him to move forward, and he's on his way to the Community College of Rhode Island. Another program we offer is called the Transitions to College program. And actually, I think Rhode Island is an innovator in this area. There are 5 of these programs around the state. And what we do is we work with students to provide remedial services, basic reading, writing, algebra, basic math, so that when a student gets to the Community College of Rhode Island, they do not have to take the remedial courses. And if you're familiar with that, people use their financial aid, which is a very, very special amount of money. They end up using financial aid for remediation. So our goal is to provide the remediation at the Education Exchange. And I'm very proud of the fact that 85% of our students over the last 4 years have avoided remedial courses at CCRI due to this program. It's an incredible experience to work with these individuals. I think one of our goals in the future is to continue all of this programming, but also to build our IT training and also to reach out to South Kingstown businesses. We have a wonderful training facility, we have a computer lab, and we think that businesses might be interested in using it for some of the training that their staff may need. So that's one of the goals that we have for the next 12 months. I think another thing that's very special about us, and I mentioned it quickly, are the dedicated teachers. Teachers do not work at the Education Exchange because they're going to retire as wealthy people. Our funds are very, very limited. We have about 8 very dedicated teachers whose passion is to work with the adult student. And we're very, very proud of them and what we're doing. Mostly, we'd just like to say thank you for what you have done for us in the past. We are a best-kept secret in Southern Rhode Island, and we want to change that. So with our new facility in Peacedale, our new lab, and building more partnerships with business, I think we'll be serving more people than we currently are, and we're looking forward to that. 30 to 35% of our population right now are South Kingstown residents, most of whom come from the villages of Peacedale and Wakefield. So, questions?
Meg?
I do have a question. It's actually more of a comment than a question. I'd like to thank, and I know she's here somewhere, Carolyn Hurtis. I was not very familiar with what you did, and I got a very, very astute dissertation about what you do at your facility. And I have to say, I was extremely impressed, very impressed.
Well, we'd love to have you come visit.
I will definitely come and visit, for sure.
Mary, with the legislative act with children not being able to drop out of school unless there is a plan and signed by, the superintendent of schools, my understanding is that the school department in South Kingstown is working with Education Exchange for those children before they do drop out.
We are. And what you're referring to is what's called an ALP, an Alternative Learning Plan. And a student cannot drop out of school before the age of 18. Though there are some very special situations where the high school environment may not be right for that child. And in that case, we do serve students from South Kingstown High School and other local high schools as well.
That's great. Other questions?
Mary, I understand that the GED testing has become much more comprehensive and difficult. Is that
That's very
true?
That's very true. And they just as the public schools have gone to the core competencies, the core curriculum, so have we. And this changed in December. So we had a number of students trying to get through on the old test, and we had many of whom were very successful. Now we're moving into the new, and there are 4 separate tests that a student has to take. And they have to go through this Pearson VUE testing facility, and that is a state requirement.
So they go to you for training to how to take this exam?
We have courses that prepare them, it prepares them to take the test, but more importantly, it prepares them to have the skills they need to move forward. Yes, we want them to pass the test, but we really want them to have the skills either to move toward higher education or to move toward quality employment.
Great. So have you had anybody take it yet, take the test?
We have had about 7 students take it.
Oh.
And I believe, well, actually, we've had about 7 students pass. We've had quite a few more take it, but we've had about 7 pass it. So the nice thing is now they can take 1 test at a time. With the former test, you sat for the entire thing.
Right.
But now you could just take the math, or you could just take the reading, or whatever. So that makes it a little less stressful.
Yeah.
Jim?
What's your total budget?
Our total budget is approximately $400,000, that's our proposed budget for this year. I do want to say that adult education in Rhode Island is not funded in a similar manner to the K through 12 funding. Less than 50% of our funding comes from the Rhode Island Department of Education. So we have to raise that difference. And when we're dealing with a large population of low-income individuals, that becomes quite a challenge.
What is that difference?
I'm sorry.
What is the difference between what the Board of Higher Ed will give, not higher ed, but secondary ed? What is that difference? How much money will you get from them, from the state?
From the state, it's just under 50%.
Just under 50%? All right, so the rest you have to raise.
We look for grants and community development money
Okay.
and so forth.
Okay, and of your 75 students, maybe 5, 10, 15 graduate each year, and you have that many coming in? Is this
Oh,
the
we
highest
have-
number you've had? Have you
We
been higher?
have, well, and that's our total number. Those are not just GED students.
Right.
Okay, those would be our transition students. We also right now have a very popular teacher assistant training program, which is a wonderful short-term training program. So an individual who's looking for quality employment can go through a teacher assistant training program, take a test, and then hopefully move into one of the school districts as a TA.
Good. Thank you.
Other questions here at the table?
I think the cost of the GED went up too when they changed the program cost, so that's another hurdle for the people to be able to get through that program.
It is a hurdle, and it's gone up significantly, and there are a few bills at the state level to try to subsidize that, but nothing has passed at this time.
What is it up to? What is the price?
You know what, I honestly can't tell you. I should have that tonight, and I don't.
Steve, do you know?
I remember it going up, and it was substantial, because our concern was at the time was that you put somebody in a position to go through the training, and then they can't afford to be able to take the test.
I think it's approximately $120, somewhere around that for the full.
But it may be the 120, I think, was for each of the divisions. It may be more than that at this point.
Well, and again, I'm the acting director, and I still have a few things to learn, so I apologize for not having that tonight.
Every day is a learning curve. Don't you worry about that.
So has Peggy Benz moved on to
She
another
has.
position? She has. Didn't realize that. Well, welcome, Mary,
Well, thank you
to continue the great work.
very
Yeah.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think we've gone through all of the agencies that were here this evening or that had submitted requests for proposal, for funding proposal. We can now move into the next section, which is the contribution to the outside agencies. I can walk through that. The League of Cities and Towns contribution, that hasn't changed in over 10 years. It's still based on a proportionate share of South Kingstown's population to the state population and devised on a per capita basis. The celebrations, we've changed that out of the recreation program because this really is a contribution to the 3 different parade committees. Each of those receives $2,333 for the 3 parades. Fire donations, that's also been moved out of the public safety area because it really has nothing to do with public safety. It's a $400 contribution made to each of the different fire companies within our community, just as a recognition of the volunteer work that they provide. Narrow River Preservation did request level funding at $500. I've given you the letter from that agency. They are continuing to ask for the $500 to assist them in defraying the costs associated with the watershed water testing program that they've run for since 2003. So they're asking for continued level funded at the $500. Next agency is the Southern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce, and I know Elizabeth is here with us tonight. Oh, and Mr. Pike. Hello there. The agency has requested an increase this year. They've requested that the funding at $8,000 be increased to $12,000 or a $4,000 increase.
The mission of the Chamber is to support and enhance the business community of Southern Rhode Island and create opportunities for the growth and development of our member businesses. We strive very, very hard every day to live and breathe our mission. The appropriation that we received, the generous appropriation that we received from the town of South Kingstown helps us to do that in a number of ways. It helps us to maintain our holiday dinner program, which I'm sure we brought up before. It's been a great program. It's been great for the community. The businesses have really enjoyed it, really embraced it. So that definitely helps with all the maintenance that is associated with that. It also goes to fund our extended hours in the summer. We see a night and day difference from the tourist season to the shoulder seasons at the chamber, with people coming in, people calling. So we try as best we can to extend our hours to service those businesses coming to town so that they stay in South Kingstown, stay Southern Rhode Island, and don't go to the summer neighborhood communities from spending all of their tourist monies here. So that's what we really try to do. We also really try to increase the amount of community-based events that we do as opposed to strictly business. We are a business organization, and we try really hard over the past few years since I've been director to really increase those programs. Some of the programs are Nights of Rhode Island, which is a community event. Wakefield Idol, which is going on right now, which has been a great community event that we have been involved with. We also do our big food and wine event that DIPA is very, very involved in. brings together about 300 local community members to support our restaurants, liquor stores, vineyards, breweries. So we've really been trying to embrace the community, get the community involved and engaged with all of the businesses. And some of the money also goes towards supporting educational seminars that we provide free of charge for the chamber to not just our member businesses, but to the community at large. Seminars about Facebook for business pages and email marketing, tax fraud, fraud in general. Really, whatever type of seminar that we can do, we try and provide to the community. So the appropriation that we receive from the town really helps us to do that.
Does Dick have anything to say?
The only thing I was going to say, if you remembered what I said for the last 4 years, we could save a lot of time because it's going to be the same speech over that.
Say it again, Dick.
Okay, well, the chamber does, help small business succeed in the community, and we're involved in it day in and day out. And this is, I think, one area where I know you give money out to a lot of different organizations, but there's a direct return on the money you give to the chamber. It comes back through the meal tax and a hotel tax. And we get hundreds of calls every day from all over where people are saying, I want to come to South Kingstown, I want to come to Wakefield, where can I stay, where can I eat? And I'm imagining those people, some people do call the town hall, and the town hall doesn't, I believe, do anything but refer them to the chamber because the town hall doesn't have a method to disseminate that information. So the chamber actually is directing people, encouraging them to come to town. And frankly, the most successful businesses, it seems, in town right now are restaurants. I mean, it seems like there's a new restaurant open up every week. So, and we're directing patrons to those places, we're helping them succeed, and that's a direct return to the town on a meal tax. I don't have that number with me, but I know it's fairly substantial. Other than that, I really can't say much is that but we do appreciate whatever the town can do for us, and the more you do for us, the more we do for the business. The more successful business is, the more the town gets in return from the revenue. And I don't think I need to tell anybody that, Rhode Island is last in the unemployment rate. So we need businesses to succeed, and, contrary to probably a lot of public knowledge, most businesses are just hanging on by their fingernails. A swing of 15% in revenue would put probably 50% of the small businesses out of business. So they need all help that they can get. They need help from the chamber, and we need help from the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions here at the table? Jim?
I see, I don't know how many chambers there are in the state of Rhode Island, but I'm always seeing Lori White in the news, and it seems like she seems to be a spokesman for business up at the State House, like a self-lobbyist, but she's head of the Providence Chamber. But do you contribute there? Well, what is the interaction between that chamber and their efforts statewide, tax-wise, business-wise, with the General Assembly and what you do?
Lori White kind of does her own thing up at the State House. We are part of a coalition of chambers, Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce Coalition. And they have a lobbyist that watches legislation coming across and kind of funnels it down to us so that we can give it out to our members. We're quite a very large chamber, not like some of our other chambers down here, so we can't have someone at the State House all the time. So we're part of the coalition, so we all work together to do that.
They do share the information, the
Yes.
Providence Chamber, and hopefully you do act with them or in concert with them. You must all have the same mission. So, okay, thank you.
Other questions, Carol?
Yeah, Elizabeth, I know we spoke about this before, but could you just explain to people about the membership dues? If a business can't afford to join and pay the full dues up front, you have a program they can pay a little bit each month or something. And I think that's something that people don't know about, and it might be good for you to explain that.
We try very, very hard to make the chamber available for any size business. We have payment plan options for our members, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, whatever works for them. We're willing to play ball. We also offer You cannot belong to all of them. Those dues would be insanely high. So we really do whatever we can to make it work for any size of business, and we try very, very hard to do so.
And I think that's great. You do ribbon cuttings for new businesses, and I think that certainly helps any business get off the ground. I also, I'm happy to see the interaction with Narragansett again. I think that's a big plus, once again. And I'm going to ask the same question I asked last year, Dick. I know that now that you're Southern Rhode Island Chamber of Commerce, you have other communities involved. What are those communities? Is it Exeter and?
Exeter, North Kingstown, Richmond, Hopkinton, Charlestown, Narragansett. We really don't do too much in Westerly. But our South Kingstown is the only town that contributes. And
That's what I was going to ask.
I'm
Have you
working
asked
to grow those
the others?
relationships. We just
Mhm.
changed our name 2 years ago.
Right.
So it takes time to make all those inroads and make those connections to make that happen. But it is on the forefront of my mind, and we're working on that.
Along with that, how many businesses from those other 6 or 7 communities belong to the South Kingstown?
We have around 550 members. Majority of our membership comes from South Kingstown. The second highest would be Narragansett, then Charlestown, then North Kingstown, then Exeter, and Richmond, in that order.
So a couple hundred maybe from those other,
I mean, so we have around 550 members, about 55% of our membership comes from South Kingstown,
So
the
I need-
rest from
yep.
outside.
all right, thank you.
How did the gift certificate program, work out this year? Was it an increase?
We did see an increase, yes, we did see an increase this year, and the gift certificate program has been absolutely fantastic. We sell thousands of dollars worth of gift certificates every year. They're only good at the member businesses. So it keeps the money local, it never depreciates in value, it never expires, doesn't cost businesses anything to participate in the program. The chamber takes on all funding for that program, so it never costs the business or the person buying a gift certificate a dime to do so. This past holiday season, we saw an increase of about $5,000 in
Good.
sales, which has just been absolutely fantastic. It really has been gaining momentum. It's been a great program for us.
I have to agree with that. I think
It's great. And I was able to catch Wakefield Idol last Thursday, and I know tomorrow night they're going to pack the house.
Sold out tomorrow night.
I know.
And the finale is almost sold out. So it's a fantastic event that really just got the entire community excited.
It's excellent.
It's been great on Main Street. In the dead of winter, it is very, very hard for restaurants, for really any business. I think February is really hard.
you can't park there on Thursday nights. It was back last Thursday.
Blame us. I'll take the blame for that.
Yeah, but that's a good blame.
But it's been fantastic. It really has. And the community has really gotten behind it and really supported it. And everyone's just having
Excellent.
so much fun.
Oh, it's
Very good.
it's been wonderful. It's been a great community event. I mean, kudos to, well, he's gone, but Chris Simpson, but
Yeah.
it's just, and Ken does the same thing upstairs. I mean, you couldn't even walk through the door. It was so crowded. It was really good.
That's a day where Phil's was rather slow.
It would be. It was the middle of the week, lots of snow. People don't want to go out. And honest and true, it's great. That's just super to all of
So we
you.
can't get in tomorrow night? I mean, I didn't
Yeah,
buy
we
a
can.
ticket.
We can. I've got a table reserved.
I have 12 tickets. I'm done. 12 tickets.
It's her fault then.
And we will put our reminders here at the town council table when it's the end of the school year and the gift certificates for,
I think the gift
People
certificate
purchasing.
program, keep promoting that. Ella's right. That's like an awesome program.
I love it when I get my chamber gift certificate.
Oh, it's awesome.
So, other questions?
Thank
All
you.
right.
Very good. You did a great
Thank
job.
you.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Next agency requesting assistance is the Peacedale Neighborhood Revitalization Group. Oh, we do have somebody here. Good.
Hi, I'm Andrew Whelan, member of the board of the Peacedale Neighborhood Revitalization here. I'm here for Leslie Chenard, who is the president. She's out due to an emergency with the family.
Oh, no.
So I've got short notice here and not
You'll be
very
fine, don't
prepared.
worry.
But we are a local group here in Peacedale dedicated to the community and economic development of the village of Peacedale itself. In the past, we have maintained the rotary and plantings around the village itself in the center and holiday lighting. Right now, we're currently kind of undergoing a little bit of a shake-up in the board. We've lost some members, but we're in a sort of a, I guess, the process of canvassing all of the new local businesses that have come in to see about interest in joining our organization. And one of the main areas that we're working on is sort of trying to merge with the group, the Peacedale Merchants Association, which is, it's been in the past kind of a redundancy of effort, and there's been a little bit of maybe confusion with local businesses as to what each group does. And so we're reaching out to the leaders of that group, and in the next month or so, we're trying to have a community meeting with local business owners and community leaders to sort of plot our future as an organization. But right now, I feel like sort of the economic resurgence of Peacedale is very palpable with sort of the new tenants and new businesses coming into both Palisades and Peacedale processing mills, and just feels like the time is ripe for some further development of the area. One of our main projects that we've been talking about as a board with the Revitalization Committee is project sort of modeled after Hop Arts in Hopkinton, where they have sort of an open studio night, actually an entire weekend where maps are distributed to people, and people can go to all the different studios and crafts people's houses and actual places of business. And there are a lot of people from Rocky Brook to Main Street that are doing very interesting stuff, and so we're looking at what availability and I guess opportunities are there, as well as potentially involving the vacant lot where Scuncio's is. There's possibility of maybe having some sort of weekend craft fair in conjunction with the farmers market, or something to drive more walking and local traffic in that neighborhood to augment economic and community development in Peacedale. Well, that's it in a nutshell, I guess. Right now, we're canvassing all the local businesses that reside basically from Main Street to Rocky Brook, to see about, we're sort of trepidatious about asking for dues as an organization, because we haven't really brought anything to the table that is going to say, yes, I want to be a member, but we're currently trying to develop a plan, whereas we might be a dues-paying organization. We've seen sort of the success of the Wakefield Village Association, and it's, you know, it's been really neat to see sort of the resurgence of Main Street, and there's no reason why that can't happen in Peacedale as well. I mean, it's, you know, 5 blocks away, so especially with the connectivity with the bike path and things like that, certainly for the summer. So we're looking ahead and hoping that you guys can help us out. And certainly, this is my first year on the board, and but we're very appreciative for the assistance we've had.
Thank you. Questions for Andrew?
You covered it all.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Incredibly honest, but we do have one thing in your favor. We hope to have a new High Street for you.
Yeah, well, it sounds
It'll
like
make it easier to get there, right?
Yeah.
We hope.
It sounds like that may continue even over in front of the mill there. I took over my mother's upholstery shop there, the seating arrangement. And, the side of the road there is just disastrous. It's, I guess in the past, Gary used to go out and fill those holes himself, even though it's state property, but that hasn't been happening, so it's just basically a giant crater at this point.
So where were you, right in Peacedale, across from the Palisades?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
nice.
across from Palisades, right in between Narragansett Rubbish and
Yep.
Thrifty Sister.
Mhm.
Yep.
Your mom used to be in the Lions Club, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, my mom was the past president of South Kingstown Chamber
Is-
of Commerce, Business and Professional Women's Association.
Yes, I know your mom, because I interacted with her quite frequently. Yes, a wonderful lady.
So it's been about 2.5 years since I've taken over the upholstery business, and I've now moved my main facility up to the Peacedale processing mill above Kenyon Sportswear. So that's where the bulk of my upholstering happens, and then we're turning the shop in downtown Peacedale into a gallery and showroom.
Nice. How many board members do you have, Andrew?
Currently, I think we are at 6 board members. We just had 2 or 3 drop out, and Leslie Chouinard is actually stepping down as our president. So in the next month or two, we're sort of looking to get a couple new members on the board and possibly elect a new president.
Great. Well, Leslie's done a great job. She's going to stay on the
Yeah, she's-
board, right?
She's going to stay on the board, but stepping down as the president, yep. But we are losing Karen Zions, I believe,
Oh.
off the board. Definitely a bit of change, but in the last year, I think, there's got to be 20 new businesses in Peacedale itself. So it's pretty exciting, really.
Yeah.
Great. I think that's great.
All right, thank you,
Thank
Andrew.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the next organization, which is the Washington County Regional Planning Council. And the request from Washington County was to...
Steve, I'm sorry. Do we have the South Kingstown Partnership for Prevention?
I'm sorry, did I...
Heidi's here.
Do we?
Heidi Driscoll's here.
Oh, she is here, okay.
Sorry. Come forward. Welcome.
Don't be scared, we don't bite.
Can't believe you were hiding behind Billy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am the new coordinator of the South Kingstown Partnership for Prevention. My name is Heidi Driscoll. The mission of the partnership is to lead South Kingston in substance abuse prevention by using multiple strategies and resources in collaboration with all sectors of the community. We truly appreciate your funding. We also receive funding from RISAPA, which is the Rhode Island Substance Abuse Prevention Act. And we also have a marijuana and other drugs reduction grant from the federal government at the moment. Some of our major initiatives that we've been working on and our greatest accomplishments so far are the Access to Excellence campaign in the high schools. We're very pleased that we have the Too Good for Drugs curriculum that is now in grades 5 through 9, and it's a health-based curriculum that works on prevention. We also, this spring, are going to be working on some Above the Influence campaigns. We're hoping to have our seniors at the high school mentor with our 5th graders at Broad Rock. We're going to be doing a number of after-school programs also at the high school. We're looking to do an 8th grade lock-in with Curtis Corner to really develop some pro-social behavior, have some of the high school students act as chaperones. We're also looking to recruit some of those 8th grade parents as they move into the high school to be part of our coalition. Also, spring, summer, into fall, we're looking to have a forum in the town for the discussion of legalization of marijuana. And we're doing an Access to Excellence parent workshop coming in August, where we will have a speaker, which will then lead into a 4-week workshop for parents on brain development, how to talk to your children. And we're also going to be doing some additional training of community members through different academies and conferences.
Questions for Heidi?
Pretty full plate.
Yes, it is. But we have a very wonderful coalition that I work with, and we're very excited to get started again and to.
It was quiet for a little while.
It was quiet. We had a little
couple meetings.
transition time between Eileen leaving and the start of my position, and we are raring to go. So.
Well, I wish you success in your
Thank you.
position. I think you'll do very well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Heidi, how many employees? Are
That
you
would be
it? You're
myself.
it. So you're doing this
But
all
we have
alone?
a wonderful coalition
Uh-huh.
of community members who just help out tremendously and are really going to be vital in getting all these things off the ground.
Where are we in
Going
terms
to
of
those meetings.
membership? Dale, I don't know, are we short members of the partnership from, that the town appoints?
We're short a police officer, if I'm not mistaken.
Nope, we have Captain Joel Ewing Chow.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
so,
on
okay,
our
he's, okay.
coalition. For the commission portion, do you mean? We have 5 appointed commission people, and I believe there are 7 actual slots.
I don't think we as a town council have done the formal appointment of Captain Ewan Chow.
Oh, okay.
So we probably want to look at that at some point.
I know you've been, I've been.
Right, but I brought that up, and I think that they were waiting for some transition with the group. So now that that's taken place, we probably can take a look at that at the town council appointee. And I have been busy and not attended a meeting in many months. And Meg is the second in command here. So there is a meeting next Thursday.
Next Thursday, 4:30.
Yep.
At the police station, so if you can make
Yeah,
it,
that's
that would be great.
Yeah.
We have quite a few new members that we're trying to bring in also, so it should be a really great meeting.
And out of all of the committees that I've served, that one rises to the top. It really is a unique, dynamic group of people on that committee.
It's coming
Yeah.
together for one cause.
And they serve wonderful food.
We do.
So, all right, we, wish you luck. Any other questions here at the table? So what is the amount that they're asking for? Let me just take a look.
4,000.
4,000. And that's been
That's level
what they
funded.
have funded in the past? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thanks, Heidi.
Thank you.
Tell your daughter I said hi.
Okay,
Steve,
we're back to Washington County Regional Planning.
can I just ask you one other question before we do Washington County? We have a letter here from Easter Seals.
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
Okay, after Washington
It's in the
County.
narrative, that's the last item.
Okay, I'll wait.
The request with the Washington County Regional Planning was for funding in the amount of $6,000. They currently receive $4,000. So they're asking for a $2,000 increase. As noted in the narrative, it's a Commerce Community Cooperative Organization, and it's dedicated to promoting regional cooperation and joint planning with the 9 South County communities. Its focus is in 5 specific areas: economic development, water resource, land use, affordable housing, and transportation. I think the council has received recent correspondence that also has addressed the fact that the Regional Planning Council, in conjunction with the League of Cities and Towns has also made an effort. Well, first, the Regional Planning Council was instrumental in obtaining a grant and being able to research the development of legislation that would allow municipalities to be able to acquire the street lighting from the national grid, and then to be able to do the maintenance through a third-party vendor contract. In other states, particularly studies that we've looked at in both Connecticut and Massachusetts, this has been a viable method for municipalities to be able to save money. We would still be purchasing the energy through National Grid, but that the cost of the maintenance, which is a sizable portion of the street lighting bill, could be managed through through the municipality, through a vendor of their choice. That work continues with the PUC, and money continues to be spent by both of those agencies to be able to ensure that the final agreements that are put in place with the PUC will provide a level playing field for municipalities to deal with the grid. So as that work goes on, I think it's going to be important for municipalities and could provide substantial value to the communities in the future. Hopefully we can get through with the PUC actions within the next 30 days, so I'll have a better idea. The other thing that will allow us to do is to look at transitioning lights into LEDs and coming up with what the cost of rentals would be with LEDs, which really isn't involved in the tariff at this point. So I think there's a number of things that the Regional Planning Council continues to be involved in. In the letter that they submitted to the town last December that I provided council copies of, they talked about the streetlight reform. Their objective was to evaluate regional revaluations, collaborative purchasing, and the sharing on IT services, as well as lobbying efforts on behalf of the 9 Southern Rhode Island communities. I guess that's the best description I can give you of the agency. Elle, you may want to address the issue as the chair of that organization.
I would. Thank you, Steve. The dues for other towns to be a member of Washington County Regional Planning Council is $6,000, and the smaller towns is $3,000. Last year, I believe, we increased it from $3,000 to $4,000, with the towns of equal size paying their share of $6,000. So I am going to advocate for South Kingstown to be, increasing this to $6,000 as the other towns do pay their share. I have served as the president of Washington County Regional Planning Council, and I have firsthand experience of the dedication and the work. And the big thing that I have found with Washington County Regional Planning Council is to be able to sit down on a monthly basis with other town council members from 8 of the cities and towns in the professional development and being able to discuss the needs and legislative acts, budgets. Every month there's a new topic at our table, which has helped me to be a better town council person here at the South Kingstown table. We do have a meeting next Thursday. We have put together some legislative priorities. We've met with the legislators. We're going to pursue that. But the professional development has been, unbelievable. We also are scarce with monies to the point where if we don't get some additional funding, that we may have to close our doors, come May or June. We have reduced the hours of the executive director down to 16 hours, but he's putting in all the additional hours at his own expense. We've reduced the coordinator's position down to 16 hours. So there's a lot of work being done that's not being paid for. And this $2,000, additional for South Kingstown would be greatly appreciated. The whole streetlights project that has come to fruition and working wonderfully with Dan Beasley down at the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, along with Office of Energy Resources, working with negotiations with National Grid with through the PUC. And they're working on numbers to see what the cost savings would be for several towns. And the numbers that I got today, which haven't been finalized, if we can get the streetlights passed, as was passed with the legislation, and we can get the PRISM up and running, which will allow towns to purchase their streetlights and maintain them, we're looking at possibly, and the numbers aren't finalized, for South Kingstown, if they choose to participate, could be a savings of about $65,000. So there's many wonderful things going on. We do have another grant that we've applied for through the Rhode Island Foundation. We probably won't hear about that until April or May, and then we also have a John Merck grant. But funds are really scarce, and the $2,000 with the great work that's being done with this Washington County Regional Planning Council would be greatly appreciated. Anybody has any questions?
Just on the
Jim?
statement, income statement, earned income, $80,000 number. Look at what comprises that number?
Where are you looking at, Jim?
Fiscal 2015, your preliminary budget. Earned income of $80,000 number.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not sure, but I will bring that back to the table.
Maybe something that I should know. Steve, do you know what that number might comprise of?
I'm sorry, which number is that, Jim?
Earned income number, the third page for the Washington County Regional Planning budget, third page.
What's on that page is that they've taken in $127,500. And their expenses to date were $120,895. So they were carrying $6,605 as a balance.
I didn't know what that jump was on earned income, 30,000, 80,000.
Right, the treasurer is the town council president of Charlestown, and I'm not really sure, but I will definitely get Jeff Broadhead, the executive director, to send an email to our town council in reference to that 80,000. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you.
The final agency that has received funding in the past is the Washington County Community Development Corporation. And I do want to indicate that we have seen a substantial amount of work with that agency in South Kingstown. At this point, they have created some affordable housing units that are assisting us in the numbers that we need to provide for affordable housing units in South Kingstown. At this point, they go in and they will take on a short sale or a negotiation with a bank pieces of property that are in need of repair. They'll do the repairs and then they'll put the house up as an affordable housing unit with the necessary deed restrictions. They've dealt with one on Sunset Boulevard in South Kingstown, one on Tupelo Road, one on Kingstown Road. They're currently looking at property that's on Branch Street as well, that they're attempting to work with. So it's an agency that is doing, I think, important work in the area of affordable housing. It certainly is regional in nature, and they're in all of the Southern Rhode Island communities, and they're requesting level funding of the $1,000. For the most part, this is the agency that Jeff Marchand and Jerry Berstrom are involved with. I can get additional information if you need it on that agency. The last two items I wanted to talk about before we get into public safety is, as noted on page N47, that we received applications for two agencies that have not received funding in the past that are looking for municipal support for the 14-15 year. One is Easter Seals of Rhode Island requesting a contribution of $5,000, and the second is the Wildlife Rehabilitators Association of Rhode Island that had asked for $7,661. I've provided the council with the letters from those agencies. Easter Seals indicates that they have been in town since 2006, and that they have a program that allows children and young adults with disabilities or special needs to broaden their skills and achieve developmental goals. They do work in conjunction with the South Kingstown school system. They, with their pediatric outpatient services, and they provide support to students in the management of their IEPs. There's a full description on the impact of the training programs that are provided through the agency. The belief is that, that by funding this, it would assist in defraying costs for those persons of low or moderate income that cannot really buy for the services that their children or young adults may need.
Steve, how long have they been in town? Do you know?
Do they receive support from other? I'm not, since no application was filed, I don't have the detail as far as other funding sources, but I do not believe that, that this is the first application I've seen from this organization.
I think they've been in town. They were located on Robinson Street in the old sawmill. And it's at least 3 years, and I could be wrong about that, but it is, the first floor facility has a full floor geared for occupational therapy. I mean, the facility is absolutely unbelievable. And the offices, you know, speech and language services, physical therapy, occupational therapy. I mean, it is quite a facility, and the good deeds that they do for our community is unbelievable. So if there's any way that we could add this to giving them some money, that would be greatly appreciated with this town council.
The second organization, Wildlife Rehabilitators Association, they have made funding requests over the past several years to us. The town has not provided a contribution to them in the past. That's not to say that the association isn't doing fine work. The organization deals with dealing with injured wildlife and nursing them back to health. They are indicating that they have an annual budget of approximately $132,000. In reviewing their financials, with a $132,000 budget, they're also sitting on net assets of about $62,000. So they've got about a 50% margin on what their expense budget is for the year. I certainly hope that they can continue to stay in good financial stead. If there's no other questions on agency contributions, I'd ask the chief to come forward with Jackie. And while they are, stay on page 47, and we'll just walk through pages 47, 48, and 49. That's the capital budget, which you've already approved. There's been no changes recommended there. Page 48 and 49, as detailed in your capital improvement program, gives you the debt service costs for the year. What I've also provided in the narrative is an explanation of what the specific bonds are that are being paid for and what the revenue sources are. And as you can see, there's a major reduction on the schools. This is where the 8 cents came in for a reduction on the school program that we talked about over the past 2 nights. On the town debt, we're seeing also a minimal decline from 727 down to 717 in terms of net dollars that are being paid out. So there really is, those are costs that have to be incurred as part of the operations budget. Having said that, if you would move to page N23, gives you the narrative relative to the police department, and page GF7 gives you the line item detail for the police department. There are very few changes in the size and the scope of our police program. We will continue to budget for salary-wise, 52 sworn officers, including the chief, 8 dispatchers, 10 civilians. We have had a complement as high as 55 officers. During the down years of the past 6 years, we've seen a necessity to reduce that number down to the 52, and we're not advocating an increase in the number at this time for the 14-15 year. Page N24 gives you performance measures in terms of what workload and scope is involved with the police department. We're estimating number of service calls in the course of the year at about 43,000 calls. In addition to that, we're looking at the police department serves as the administrative head for all public safety. So the police budget is also responsible between chief and his financial wizard, oversight of the EMS program, animal control programs, and so provides those type of reviews. Jackie tells me if I'm $1 short in terms of what her funding requests are.
Gonna kill you.
And I've said to Jackie, if you have a budget that is $7.9 million, I don't want to hear about the $2. But she will document it for us.
And for that, you ought to consider a raise.
On page N25 is a general explanation as to where the increases are coming from. Essentially, the police budget, like all of our other budgets, had labor contracts of a 2% increase for all of our membership. So both civilian dispatch and police officers are looking at about a 2% salary increase for the year. That was amounting to approximately $56,000 in terms of our programs. This department, like all of our other departments, now includes the overall benefits, employment benefits associated. And it's staggering when you look at the fact that last year, when we adopted the budget, we looked at a police budget of $5.4 million. When we incorporate all of the other costs necessary to be able to put that workforce onto the street, our costs increased by about $2.2 million. That's because we're looking at major cost increase associated with the fringe benefits that have been added on. The other thing that we've done here, as we have in the other departments, is we've restated the budget so that we can look at what the actual cost of utilities are by each commodity. That way we can have better cost control as we go forward. The police department has made inroads in terms of energy conservation. We've replaced all of the lights, both exterior and interior to the building, other than the dispatch center, with the new LED lighting, and we're seeing the benefit associated with those improvements. We are looking at, the TASER program is going to have some operational costs associated with it. We're purchasing the TASER program, which was the cost of the equipment itself, as well as the training component. But what we need to do is to be able to pay for the overtime associated with actually training the officers to be able to use that equipment. We also have taken in-house into the various departments their radios. We're no longer budgeting in a radio services contract where we're buying radio batteries or replacement radios. We've said to the police department, public works department, EMS, integrate that into your operating budget because those are equipment needs for the operations of the department. The budget also includes the replacement of 6 vehicles within the public safety fleet. We are looking to expand the fleet by holding back 1 vehicle, and that vehicle that will be held back is a vehicle that'll have about 90,000 miles on it, and it'll be a backup vehicle that will be in the used by the Detective Bureau. It will be the vehicle that you see parked as you drive into the town hall every day over the past 6 years.
Better be in good shape.
It doesn't go very far, Vinnie. Home and here, home and here.
How to get 87,000 miles on a thing?
Don't you talk about miles. With that as an introduction, I'll let Chief tell you all his woes.
Well, I think
Vinnie, is that mic on? Tab it forward.
well, I think you did a pretty good job covering
Gee, thanks.
what we, one of the things that you didn't mention, but the council is aware of it, is the accreditation program. You might have read the editorial in the Journal. They totally support, as they should, the accreditation program. It was an initiative of the Police Chiefs Association, initiative where the best policies known to law enforcement through the International Association of Chiefs of Police, developing the best policies to be developed by all the police departments in the country. And it's a worthwhile endeavor. It's not a timely endeavor. We're going to have to work on it for a period of months until we're fully accredited. But we have a training officer, Sergeant Gardner, who many of you know, who's moving forward in conjunction with the command staff of the department to be fully accredited by this accreditation bureau. It's a worthwhile endeavor. It's going to cost some money, but it needs to be done. We want to be in the mainstream of law enforcement. We have been, and there's no reason why we should not fully embrace this concept.
Staying on that subject for a minute, one of the costs of that program is a $1,000 fee each year, of which 50% of that is coming out of the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust. The trust has been an advocate for the accreditation program for several years, and in fact, we've, through the trust, are making a contribution to any of the member agencies that we have to pay 50% of their costs toward the application process that they will be going through. Because if we can get best management practices in place for all cities and towns, it certainly, from a risk management perspective, is going to be very beneficial to the communities. Not just will it reduce exposures, it'll also reduce reinsurance costs once the accreditation program is in place and in full use by the various communities. It also protects people from themselves. Some of the most serious cases and problems that we run into in the public safety arena are in terms of control and care of persons in our custody. And if proper procedures aren't in place for that, or for the use of force or types of force, there can be great exposure to the community in general. And innocent bystanders end up being hurt. So we think this is a great step forward, and I'm glad to see that our department is one of the first departments that's pushing to get ahead with the program. Our training officer with Sergeant Gardner is certainly an advocate to try to get this thing done. But it will cost us money on some of the program items.
In that note, we have about $51,000 in asset forfeiture, which can augment some of these expenses. And we have a detective assigned to the DEA, a task force, and he's so proactive with that program. I really expect that we will receive more asset forfeiture. We can only be used for law enforcement purposes, and that can fund some of the initiatives that we have, including accreditation, TASER training, and things like that. So that's a pretty good start, $50,000. He's only been assigned there for about 5 months, and these are the reaping the benefits of his assignment there, and we expect to do much better.
What's also important that Vinnie's not mentioning is the respect for the department to ask for our participation in the task force.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I was wondering, I'm looking at seasonal salaries, and we're down to 0. Why is that? We spent $67,149 the 12-13 year, and then $70,000, I guess.
It's a reclassification. What it is that's the crossing guards. We're moving them out of the seasonal, and they are truly the part-time employees.
Oh, okay, so then
Yeah.
they still exist, but they're not in your
Right,
department?
as you can see in the adopted budget, they were showing at 70.
Right.
And what they're doing, they're going to be paid out as a part-time. So you can see that's where you're showing an estimated expense of 105,000,
Mhm.
and next year at the 98.
Where are you? What line?
I'm on GF7, page GF7, and it's on the second and third line down.
Oh, okay, so you moved it to part-time salaries? That's what you did, okay. Because we still do have seasonal police officers. Did we ever have that? We don't have any seasonal employees?
No.
Okay. It's Narragansett, I guess.
Yeah, Narragansett
That
does it.
program.
Yeah, they do.
And where is the line item that is the tasers and,
The tasers is in the
all that?
capital budget, Carol.
it's where?
The tasers are in the capital budget.
Oh, okay.
So they're not in they're not in the police budget itself. The only thing that would be in the police budget is a portion of the overtime that would be necessary for the training of our officers.
Okay, and how about guns and ammunition? That's not in here either? Is that capital budget also?
Oh, no, that's there.
Where is it?
The safety yeah, it's the safety equipment. It's 550-0024, which is
Oh,
about
okay.
4 up from the bottom.
Safety-related equipment.
Actually, it's, for the ammunition, is 540058. That's where the supplies
Oh, okay.
are.
Hmm. That makes sense, I guess.
Right.
And the other question, the other question I had was, when we talk about, in your statistics, number of offenses reported within the major crime classification, is that just all felonies? Is that what you mean by that? or-
Yes, yes.
Okay.
UCI.
And then when you talk about number of arrests, that felony number is included in there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All of it.
Mhm. And I also wanted to say one other thing, that South Kingstown was ranked number 27 as one of the safest communities in the United States, and I think that is a great honor.
Well, you
So,
know, I think-
good for you, Chief, and your whole department, and the town.
I think it's a team effort. I mean, I would hesitate to take all the credit for it. The police department certainly does a wonderful job. But this is a wonderful community that supports the police department. And we're only as good as the information that we receive and the people who support us, including the council.
Mhm.
And I've been here for a long time, and through the town administration. And whatever council is sitting, they've always supported the police department, as I hope you will tonight.
No.
Yay.
No money for you.
But I mean, that was I've been getting calls from my contemporaries throughout the country and said, what the hell are you guys doing?
Right.
You must be doing something right. But I attributed a lot of it to the community itself. But thank you for that comment.
And I think we're the only one in Rhode Island that got
Yes.
included in that ranking,
Yes,
right?
we are.
Very good.
Kudos to you. I think that's awesome. I
Right.
really do.
Wonderful.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Town manager doesn't seem too impressed.
Speechless. He's speechless.
You're the
Everybody's
public-
so
you're
impressed
the-
that he
You're
can't
the public
speak.
safety director.
What we're hoping is that we're going to have him fill out the forms again next year. Because nobody else is going to fill them in the way he did.
It's a complete surprise to me, no forms.
Everybody's talking about it, though. I mean, I've
I
heard a
think it's
lot
great.
about it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That has been good.
Any other questions? As you can see, the chief and I have go at it all the time.
It's a friendly, hostile relationship, right?
Any questions for the chief? Jackie? We truly appreciate all the work.
And we got Anne Marie coming next, so you can't leave yet.
Can I lease a room from you in Florida?
You can come down and visit anytime you want.
Thanks again.
Careful, he wouldn't leave here, so.
He'll be on the plane tonight, watch out.
Get out of the snow.
Our next budgets are the Animal Control Road Program and the shelter.
Page, are we going back to, N something?
N25. And Anne Marie's joining us. The first one is the road program. Road program handles between 1,260 and 1,500 complaints on an annual basis. We continue to operate with one full-time employee and 2 part-time employees for weekend work. We've been short-staffed on that for the last several months, but we have included in the budget full funding of the 2 part-time positions, because it seems that once our full-time guy goes off duty, the complaints increase. So what we're trying to do is to provide better coverage with that program. Certainly it's 1 vehicle and 1 person in the truck, and they're assisted by the police department when necessary. The Animal Control Program shelter operation is presented on page N29. It's also included in the detail if you run to page GF8. The proposed budget for next year is $217,000, about a $4,000 increase over the current year. Council approved the modifications to the HVAC system on the building. We're hopeful that once those modifications are completed, that we will see reductions in our heating costs associated with that building. As I said the other night, that was a very, very difficult contract for us to get completed. Without Anne Marie and Chief and Jackie, I'm not sure we would have ever got that building back to its proper condition. I think the program continues to do very, very well. What we're also seeing is that the contributions that are generated based on people very satisfied with the manner in which their animals have been maintained during the time that they're in Anne Marie's custody, that she's projecting that she'll continue to see about $30,000 a year coming in terms of program supports. These are the dollars that are held in the Capital Reserve Fund that can enhance the programs that we have, or if there's major medical expenses associated with an animal, for us to be able to impact that without having it impact the property tax dollars. It's indicated that Narragansett pays about $70,000 of the costs associated with the operation of our facility. So it's a shared services agreement that we have with them. So of that $217,000, $70,000 will be coming from Narragansett. There'll also be revenue coming in as far as fines that are associated with the road program. The shelter has been successful in facilitating the adoption of over 230 animals during the 12-13 year, and has about a 46% reclaim rate of its existing, from its existing owners of the animals. So I think we've got a showcase program. We certainly have the best director, and I think that the money is well spent with what we're doing here. As long as I can keep the chief out of there, because he ends up taking the animals out of the cages and we can't, they don't want to go back in.
That's Judy.
I tell him to go
Yes.
use that with his cells and take the people in and out of there rather than the animals.
He'd never do that.
I've got to just say this because now that when my husband and I are empty nesters, we've adopted 3 from the animal shelter. But I would personally like to see more communication. I don't know if it has to be on the website or something that you guys put out, because my husband and I, we donate cans, bottles, everything that we can, because the shelter utilizes that, because it gives, you scrap them or whatever you do with them, and it gives food and helps to supplement the income at the shelter. So I don't know how many people really know about that.
I didn't know about it.
We do it, my husband and I do it all the time.
Because we've been doing that for since 1995.
And I think that's a great program. I
It
really
is,
do.
and I've been working on trying to get more coverage in the media and trying to get it out to the school systems to see if I could obtain some students and their parents to help us with transporting the cans from our location to the facilities for cash.
So awesome, I think it's
And
so awesome.
basically what we have been obtaining the funds for is not so much the food aspect of it, but also like those emergency medical expenses. I know the first year that we took on the can collection, we did confiscate several dogs from actually one location, and they had like Lyme disease, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, heartworm, and right now, most of the dogs, a lot of the dogs that we're seeing that come on in will have Lyme and will have anaplasmosis. Unfortunately, when you're looking at those 2, they're treated with doxycycline, and actually just to treat one dog with doxycycline, you're looking at close to $125, depending on the size, and it could be on up to $250. So when it comes down to it and having that benefit, it's almost easier to get an aluminum can out of a trash or a person than to get financial donations. So they're becoming more apt, and they do it, and we do have that nice little area that we can do it. And then we do have some volunteers who will separate the cans, because every once in a while you'll get a soup can in there, and if there's a soup can in there, then it makes it all like null and void. So we have to actually have volunteers separate those to make sure that the not incorrect cans are in there.
I just think it's great because everybody should, if they're not, be recycling. And if you're putting your recyclable, bin out there,
Yep.
go through it and take out anything that is like can related, even if you put it in a garbage bag.
Yep.
My husband drives them over and
Just
we
throw
drop
'em on in.
off. Yeah, we just drop them off, and all of that goes back to help support.
And actually, with this coming year, we're looking at different things. We're going to have a couple more obstacles to jump. And one of them is because there's a new general law which mandates that every animal leaving the shelter must be neutered. So we're going to have to come up with the funds to be able to do that. Now, we do have some funds available that were in a neutering deposit that were forfeit in our previous adoption program. So we've been able to maintain the neutering of those animals. But now what's going to be hard is we're going to be starting to be hit with the kitten season. And cats just seem to multiply like crazy. That's why our reclaim rate is only at 46%. When we dealt with the canine population only, it was more like 86%. When we took on the cat population, the reclaim rate drastically diminished. And cats are induced ovulators. I swear they just look at boys and they get pregnant. So we end up with a lot of them. And so that's a lot of kittens that we're going, what? A lot of kittens we're going to end up with that we're going to have to neuter. So that is going to really make it difficult to figure out how to handle everything the most cost-effective way.
Don't you have the guy that comes in the van from I forgot where he was from.
There's the community clinic, but that's still, everything still costs us. We don't end up with anything for free. And as it stands with that, the cost of neutering is $75 per cat. You also have to look at the different things like the cost of the leukemia AIDS testing and the distemper and the rabies vaccinations. It's not a wise idea to neuter them first and test afterwards, because if they do test positive for leukemia and AIDS, you can't cure those diseases. So do you invest in doing the neutering and then find out they have diseases that aren't curable? No. So you got to test them first, make sure that they don't have them, and then neuter them. So you have to kind of go through that process. And like I said, with the dogs right now, we test them for the heartworm, the Lyme, the anaplasmosis, and the Ehrlichia, which is all the tick-borne viruses, and a lot of them are coming back with the anaplasmosis and Lyme in our area. So we got to go through that, and then the neutering. So like right now, we're treating one girl for heartworm and Lyme, and another girl for Lyme.
Now, you just said with the kittens, they have to be neutered before you can let them out for adoption. Don't they have to be a certain age before you can neuter them?
No, actually, see, right now, this is like one of my bone of contention. So you're hitting a spot that's not quite agreeing with me personally, because I believe that you should wait. Make sure that they're, especially when you're dealing with a stray animal population. If you have an animal that's born in a home, is healthy, has a healthy mom, is growing by leaps and bounds, I think that's one story, and they're on a good path. If you're dealing with a stray animal population, you don't know the backgrounds. You don't know what their mom had, or how they were eating, or what type of environment they were growing up in. So they could be not the age that you think they are. They may have had intestinal parasites that were compromising their health. And you don't know if when you test them too young, they could be false positive, or their bodies don't flush the, like some of the AIDS viruses out of them yet. So there's a lot of things that compromise that. So they say that you can neuter them when they're like 3 to 4 pounds. To me, that's also still very small when you're dealing with the stray animal population. When I asked some of the activists, and this is not easy for me to say, why they did that, they felt that neutering them even at a young age was better than releasing them not neutered, even with the contract saying that they would be neutered, because if they die, it's an acceptable loss. And that type of stuff doesn't sit right with me. And that's why I have a really hard time. And so even when for the first time, I actually wrote a letter, and I sent it on out to some of the representatives who brought these forward and had them passed. And they actually passed it to the activists, who did hunt me down and did call me up at the shelter. I didn't know who they were. And, they were coming at me full charge. I'm like, who are you people? And in reference to, they did not actually speak kindly of the cat population. And here they were acting on the behalf of the cat population. So they surprised me. I mean, I will say it, oh, you rotten cat, what are you doing? Stuff like that, but that's about the extent of it. I don't use foul language. I don't, use that other type of stuff that they were actually referring to cats. And I don't find that if an animal is healthy or on a path to good health, I don't find it's an acceptable loss to have them pass away because you're rushing to do something. So I could be totally incorrect in my thought process. It doesn't sit right with me, not right now. And I know that shelter health and shelter medicine is totally different than in the home, or even like with what veterinarians are doing. You take a slightly different path to make sure that the crew that we're taking care of is going to make it and be healthy. But you can't be unreasonable either. So I know,
The same thing with puppies or just cats?
nope, puppies have to be neutered too,
So,
but you know
puppies,
what?
I thought 6 months old you wait.
Nope,
Not anymore? My dog is 2 years old, I mean,
nope.
6 months.
But right now, see, to be honest with you, I don't see puppies anymore in Rhode Island. No, I don't, not unless they're pit bulls, to be honest with you. And most of the puppies that you see coming into New England are being shipped from the south. So you're getting a lot of like the herding dogs, the working dogs, the hunting dogs, you know, the Catahoula leopard dogs. And that's a different kind of behavior that some people are not highly familiar with because they're working dogs and they have a tendency to use their mouths a lot. So a lot of people think, oh my gosh, they're biting, but they're not. That's just their natural way of doing the work that they were bred to do. So that has to do with the light cycle and why they are able to have the puppies in the warmer climates, whereas, you know, this lovely weather that we have and our short daylight doesn't cause the females to go into heat as often and be able to reproduce. And we're also getting individuals who are being more responsible. So we're seeing a definite decrease on the stray dogs and puppies becoming available, but the cats are still busy.
Yeah, I got 3 of them.
Definitely still busy.
I got 3 of them, and I never have a cat in my life, but I got overruled by my children, so.
Actually, we have a facility, it's called a mobile clinic that comes by once a month, and he actually converted kind of like an RV type thing, and he has a nice surgical suite in there, and he does it for us at a very reasonable cost. And then on the canine population, we do use the Rhode Island Community Spay-Neuter Clinic, which is located in Warwick, and they do have a van that will drive down to us if we give them enough of advance notice that we have someone who needs to be neutered, and they will pick it on up and transport it for us.
Offer some of these vets, I would like to think.
It is. Actually, their rates, they are reasonable for us. Yes, they are. So when it comes down to the Salmon River Veterinary Services and the community clinic, those prices are definitely reasonable. Because I'm seeing some that are totally crazy.
Isn't he from Exeter, the gentleman, or Exeter, West Greenwich area?
He's from West Greenwich, Salmon River.
Yep.
And the other one's from Warwick.
So $75 a cat is.
$75 male or female, which also includes a distemper and rabies vaccination. So that is definitely reasonable, especially on the cats. Dogs range up, but they have a special price for the shelters. General public, it's a little bit more, but for us, they're definitely attempting to work with us. Any additional questions?
How about the new system of, you know, the air purification or moving the air around? Did you want to speak a little bit about that? Not really?
Well, I know it's actually, right now, we're getting to the point that we hope that we're not going to have the issues that we have at this point. The system actually freezes up. Because what happens is it pulls the air from the outside, has it in a compartment, and then pushes it through. But because it's been so cold, it pulls it into the compartment. It's not in the compartment quite long enough to heat it up to the temperature that it needs to be, and then pushes it through the building. So when it's absolutely freezing outside, it pulls it on in. There's a coil in there. It froze up last year. It froze up this year. And I think the motor actually kind of fried up too. And so I know that, you know, we'll give Mark a call. This year we also unfortunately had a little bit of flooding back there because something froze up and it caused something to back up. So the one thing I did find out, guess who's doing the same system over at the Animal Rescue League? And they've asked for a meeting with me and Mark.
will deal with that issue.
Yep.
Right.
And hopefully we can get the balancing on the air that's necessary there. Because as I said, that, you know, it's not your normal building based on the, you know, the fur dander that you're going to have that's going to be floating in the air that needs to be filtered to be able to make it a safe place, both for the animals and for the people that are working in that facility. But I think that the solution that's been developed is the most viable solution that we can come up with that should address the problems that we've run into. The system that was installed may have worked in a warm climate, but it can't work in New England.
No, not with that. Mm-mm.
And my last question was, North Kingston at one time was talking about, you know, joining, you know, our town. Has there been any more discussion?
I haven't heard anything from them. I know that they've, their full-time ACO has left that department. They have a new, 2 new ACOs that have come on in, who've been on duty for the last year. And I haven't really heard that much from them since that original discussion.
Thank you.
We've had no contact at all with North Kingstown on that issue. We've made the offer that it's available, that we would work with any of the communities, you know, within reason, and we haven't had any proposals submitted to us.
The one thing that we, I don't remember if we mentioned this last year, but we have been in discussion with the state to be like the regional kind of disaster relief shelter of our area. So that actually is kind of in the works, and we're trying to potentially get a generator in there so that if anything does happen, I know that during one storm the previous year we lost power, but the storm before that we were fine. So I know that in one of them we had snow, so it was a little bit chilly. The other one, you know, with having water and electricity in there, especially the water aspect, it makes it a great place. And then the individuals who have to bring their animals in, they also know that they're safe, and it just makes things a lot easier. And the state felt that we were, I guess, a suitable facility.
Just an update on that, I have signed the contract for us to serve as an emergency facility for animals. The quid pro quo with us agreeing to that is that they will provide us with a portable generator that will be available for use by the shelter if, in fact, we were in a position to take in animals from other communities. I thought it was only the only thing that was proper to do, seeing that really our facility was built based on Potter money that was provided to us because of an emergency that Anne Marie took care of her animals. The generator is coming through DEM, and what we've got to look at now is the internal electrical on putting a switch plate so that we would be able to use it there. Even without that direct connection, it'll be able to operate the facility. The agreement also is one that with 30 days notice we can cancel if we're not satisfied with the cooperation that's required under the agreement with the state. But I think that the state has finally recognized that there's a need for emergency planning for animal population, because a lot of people won't leave their homes and are in peril because they're afraid the animal has no place to go. So part of our plan has been approved, and I think we're still waiting for the generator to arrive, but it's in place.
And I would recommend to our new newspaper staff that if we do become that emergency facility for the state, if the newspaper staff could really look up that story, because sitting at this table, that is one of the most moving stories that I've ever heard. The Potter story.
Thank you.
Well,
Check
speaking
that out.
I'm sure that there's a moving story available through the Harbor Patrol, too. So, say goodnight, Anne Marie.
Good night.
Thank you. Mr. Ennis.
Barry, you better come up with something good. Uh, The Harbor Patrol Program, again, the radio services, we indicated that's been assigned to each of the different departments. The program for the Harbor Patrol, it's really to provide us with a 7-day-a-week, 15-week program during the summer, as well as for the harbor master, that for Barry to handle the mooring program through the course of the year. Again, the expansion or added cost here is associated with the FICA requirements to pay on the part-time salaries that are there. With the harbor master, we pay a stipend for the services that he provides on the moorings, and we provide on an hourly rate based on the time that he serves on the boat. So now you've got to wow them as much as Anne Marie.
It's not going to happen. I don't have anything fuzzy and cuddly.
The other thing that's in their budget, the budget this year, is that we're looking to purchase a trailer, and the trailer would be used for one of the boats so that we can get it back and forth. I think the cost on that was at about almost $3,000, $2,950 for that patrol boat trailer. That's the only added item next year's budget, and I can assure you we'll cut his budget back $3,000 next year when he doesn't have that trailer in there.
I have no doubt.
Are there any questions on that?
So without that trailer, did we have any emergencies where we could have used that second boat, that we didn't have access to it?
Not this past season, no. We have had in the past, and like Sandy and stuff like that, we use them for after action survey of the surrounding waters and things like that. The real issue is that the two boats that we have, one is a 19-foot whaler and the other is a 21-foot hard-bottomed inflatable. The trailer industry, for some reason, decided that the magic number was 20 feet, where you should separate one trailer from another. So we're a little bit short for the 21-footer. So if we put that on it, there's no weight on the tongue, it's difficult to trailer, and it tends to bounce a lot, and we're starting to see damage on the bow of the 21-footer. And on the shorter one, if we don't move the stanchion back, then on the whaler, we tend to pull it up over the back of the rollers, and it becomes a little bit of a hazard transporting it and difficult sometimes to launch or retrieve on that trailer. So you really need one trailer set up for each. Then in the winter, fall, we have to tank it out, take one of them and just block it up in back of the police station so it actually has no availability whatsoever, because we store the Boston Whaler on the trailer itself. So we do have the Boston Whaler that's available, but if we needed both vessels after our winterization in October, we wouldn't have access to both of them in any timely manner. It takes about 2 hours to get it off the blocks and onto the trailer, because it's all done by hand with a hand jack.
Wow. So what would
It's
have
a
been...
good investment.
What would have been the solution to having them easily accessed? Bigger trailer?
No, purchasing the second trailer.
Okay.
So we'll each
Got it.
have each one of them on its own individual trailer, so there won't be any question. What's that?
I said we could have got rid of the boat.
It's true, but then if we have the patrol boat break down, we have such a short season. We have basically a 90-day season. And as the manager says, 7 days a week. If you have any downtime for mechanical reasons on a specific boat, then you don't have a program out there. So several years ago, we had the opportunity to obtain the hard-bottomed inflatable from the state, which they gave to us, and then now we're just trying, after manhandling it for a few years, trying to actually address the issue and have available the backup.
Barry, why don't you also explain to them about the certification program and the training that these part-time people have that are working for you during the summer months?
Okay, Historically, we've done a program. I did some training with the Coast Guard through DEM and established a training program that the harbor masters in Rhode Island adopted for their basic training. It's a 20-hour classroom program, and about 5 years ago, the Harbor Masters Association, wanting to professionalize the system and give the cities and towns the opportunity to say that their people were properly trained, adopted that program, the training program, and passed got a general law passed that said all the harbor masters in the state of Rhode Island have to, within their first year, attend the Harbor Master Academy, which is basically this basic boating safety training program. So our personnel all go through that. We've also worked with the University of Rhode Island since 2000 through their intern program, and generally take junior or senior members of the Marine Affairs Department, and through general hiring, usually hire 1 or 2 or 3 from the University of Rhode Island, and we've had usually at least 1, if not 2, interns every year, and they get the opportunity, because working full-time with us, they can also work through the intern program at URI and receive up to 15 credits for the summer, which is good for them.
Barry, do you still teach the 20-hour classroom training? Are you teaching that?
I do for our personnel now. I handed it off last year to the association, but they've come back and asked if I would continue to assist them. But
So you were training other municipalities, right?
oh yes, since probably about 1994 or so, I believe we've
So
trained.
You're getting paid for that, I assume?
No,
No?
that was all free time, donated my time, no charge to the town, no charge to the municipalities. We've done, I can't say half, but we've done Cranston, Pawtucket, East Providence, Charleston, Westerly, North Kingstown, South Kingstown, Narragansett, Rhode Island State Police at one point. We've made it available because we needed the standardization and professionalism.
Well, there should be a fee in there somewhere for his services from these other municipalities.
Barry does an excellent job getting sun on the water. It seems that he finds the most opportune days to be out on the water. On the days that aren't really that good, you see the harbor assistants.
That's good.
If there's no questions, let's move on to Communications Department. We still got business to do.
Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Communications Department budget, we've got 2 full-time and 1 part-time individual in that department. Again, 2% salary increases. We are seeing a need to increase the overtime in that budget. As my narrative has indicated, we've got to respond to any of the alarms that come in, any of those that occur during nighttime hours. I've got a 3-hour call-out. There was 262 of those fire alarm activations that occurred just in the last year. This is a program that I do need to spend some additional time on in terms of looking at where do we go in the future with this program. Many municipalities have gone away from hardwire alarm systems into wireless systems. We may want to take a look at what those different options are. We've got a unique situation where, without having a fire department, but doing the fire safety code reviews on the town side rather than through the fire district, we do need a department that does review any and all commercial plans before the construction is done or modifications are done to commercial facilities. But in addition to that, we have to look at what are the different modes of operation as we go forward, and what type of controls we can put in terms of controlling our labor cost in this area. Any questions on the Communications Department? If not, we'll move to the last public safety department. That's our EMS division. And Michael has patiently waited. I don't know why he was here at 6:30, but he told me that the chief made him. So I guess there must have been something that you did wrong today.
Vinny, you better make sure he gets a long lunch tomorrow.
The EMS operates both the two paramedic units, units 1 and 2. One is on a 24-hour basis, the other is on a 12-hour. A 12-hour runs from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. We operate now with 12 full-time paramedics and 4 paramedic shift commanders. We also operate with a number of per diems. I think at last count you had 15 per diems that fill in when our full-time people are unavailable. The paramedics that are working either 24-hour shifts on the main units that are housed at the public safety building, or 12-hour shifts if they're operating out of the Route 1 Public Services building or the old police station. The budget for next year is requesting about a $40,000 increase, and it'll cost us about $1.5 million to operate the program, inclusive of benefits. What we're also looking at is that we've increased the amount coming in from fees collected for EMS runs, and we've budgeted for 775, is it? 575,000 for next year. So of that cost of the 1.58, $500,000 of it will be coming from direct services, which usually is paid for through Blue Cross or any of the healthcare or federal programs that would be paying for medical services. We do not, we have a self-insurance fund where persons of the community that use the service that do not have medical contracts, do not have healthcare services, that there is no billing for that. Those fees are waived. The program, as defined on page N30, talks about the number of runs a year. We're predicting between 28 and 3,100 runs. And we talk about mutual aids to other agencies versus mutual aid being required to come into the community. And you can see that that overall that the total mutual aids required is projected to go up to as many as 190. What we're finding is that a lot of the calls are coming in after the 7 p.m. The 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. It would be better if we could change our contract terms to change that 12-hour window. Instead of starting it at 7 to 7, possibly starting it at 9 to 9. Obviously, that would be subject to contract negotiations, but it may give us a couple of more coverage hours where we may see greater activity than in the early morning hours. With that said, Mike, do you want to present the highlights?
Certainly. So, as the manager stated, over the past year or so, or several years, we've had incremental increases in the call volume that's required. And I expect that to continue, particularly with the Affordable Health Care Act and the changes that come into play with that. The EMS system is a hybrid system, so we're simply, just to describe it simply, we're half healthcare and we're half public safety. So like the chief had alluded to in his accreditation attempts over the past few years, I've been positioning and building a cadre of policies and stuff to move to an accreditation process for the EMS organization. Much of the same benefits as the chief described with the police agency would be realized with an accreditation process. However, with that comes a lot of work, a lot of time, and really some changes in the way we would operate. And a lot of that is, as I look forward, preparing us for any impacts we may see due to the healthcare changes and the industry changes throughout healthcare, even before the Affordable Health Care Act. An example to give you to that is I expect us to see more requests for service where we don't actually take anybody to the hospital. I just ran a brief stat tonight. From March of last year to March of this year, about 510 responses, we don't actually take anybody. And that's one of the things that we have to keep an eye on with the affordable health care changes in the healthcare industry, is that number increasing, because right now there is no mechanism for reimbursement for that. So that would be fully taxpayer funded there. Legislatively, regulatory, there is talk to move towards some type of reimbursement or changes that would allow for reimbursement on those type of incidences. And the biggest concept now that you hear is a concept of community paramedicine, which is actually an effort to reduce the cost of health care by utilizing paramedics when they're not on emergency runs to check in on people that may have been recently discharged from the facility, make sure they're taking their medications, take a set of vitals, make sure they're following directions at a much lower cost than readmission to a hospital facility. So those are some of the things we're keeping an eye on as we move forward, as we prepare and position ourselves to accommodate that, should that come. But at this point, there would have to be both regulatory and legislative changes before we implemented anything like that. But being prepared for it, I think, is something we need to do.
Mike, you want to talk just for a minute as far as the training that goes on, the ongoing, to be able to keep the certification with the paramedics?
Sure, and that's a daily struggle. Trying to deliver a 4-hour class with 4 or 5 emergency calls in between it is quite difficult to do, but substantial training. The training is only increasing. State is moving towards teaching institutions being accredited. In fact, as of July, now was it July or January of this past year, to deliver a paramedic program, you had to be an accredited teaching institution or have a letter of review with an accrediting agency. So that right now basically narrows it down to, I think, 2 education institutions that can actually deliver a paramedic program. So that is changing the industry, making it more difficult for us to keep up our certifications as they add more and more requirements to that. And as I broaden our scope in the EMS organization to also do more public education, more public outreach, and kind of make use of the time that we have available when we're not on emergency calls to benefit the citizens of the community and make them more prepared and keep them injury-free if possible.
Questions?
I just have a question for Mike. I know that you had attended, months and months ago, a meeting with the South Kingstown Partnership for Prevention, and I don't know if they have reached out to you to be more involved with them, and with the, do you see more calls with drug use? And I think there's that Lazarus drug that if somebody does overdose, that, do you see more use of that?
I can't say specifically if on that particular drug, because a lot of times, we won't have at face value of exactly what we're dealing with. Initially, we may have an idea, or a lot of that stuff is, a combination, unfortunately, now, where it's just a mixed bag, and you really don't know what drugs are included in the stuff that people are taking. But we have seen an increase in some of the things, the recent press coverage with the heroin overdoses and Narcan and stuff like that. We've seen a slight increase, not substantial like some other communities, but it is out there. And to answer the second question, I think I had some contact initially with the partnership, and then I think the transition of leadership there kind of got lost in all that. So most certainly willing to get involved in that if we need to.
Thank you, Mike.
I did see on the news today that the state is calling it an epidemic right now, and there was, as of today, there were 56 deaths since January 1 from drug overdoses. Are you seeing a situation in our area, because I literally have not heard much down here, but Are you seeing a situation down here where we're seeing?
We've had a few. I'm not sure where the bulk of the, I think the bulk of it is towards the northern part of the state where they seem to think some of that originated from. But we have had a few in recent weeks. Some that did die and some that were treated and released, hopefully. So it is out there. It is, I think it's an epidemic for this state. I think it's a problem that a lot of other states and communities in those states have battled for years. And I just,
56, though,
yeah.
January, that's amazing.
That's a big number for Rhode Island. That's a big number. Yeah.
Any other questions for Mike? We
Mike,
thank
you didn't tell them about the grant you just got.
Ah.
Well, there's the grant that I just received from the trust, is that the one? Yeah, so we got a safety grant there, basically to buy some vests.
Oh, good.
So, again, a lot of the responses we do, people fall, they're not really injured, but we need to assist them to their feet. So in order to prevent us from getting injured or injuring the person, because if I try to yank you up by your arm, that can do some damage to your shoulders, it's basically a vest with handles.
Nice.
So hopefully we get a $1,000 grant towards that, and I'm still waiting on a bigger grant from FEMA, but we'll see what happens with that.
And we hope to be seeing the building improvements this, coming forward for the public services building as far as that garage space. That will be coming. If there's no other questions, I'd ask you to move to page N40. We've got just a couple of more accounts to do this evening. The first is the municipal insurance. Municipal insurance program. Municipal insurance will be a budget of $254. Thanks, Jackie. Good night, Chief.
Thank you.
$254,000. We're expecting about a 10% overall increase in the cost of that program. That covers all of the property liability and casualty. I want to make sure that you're aware that the base policy that the town buys is a $1 million policy. We put another $4 million on top of that to be able to provide a $5 million in coverage. The unemployment, we're looking at maintaining at about $20,000. Are you having trouble finding where you are? You all set? Unemployment is at $20,000. The workers' comp, we're expecting the cost to be about $125,000. And again, that's only the cost that's going to be associated with general fund employees. That doesn't involve, there'll be specific costs that'll be associated with each of the enterprise funds or the guild. The fund contingency is there for the $65,000, which we've traditionally had. Life insurance has been redistributed to the operating department, so too is FICA. The town retirement has also been reassigned. Town health care. The town health care account, there's two objects here. One object is for the OPEB, which I talked about on the first night, where we have about an $825,000 annual contribution requirement. We pay about $425,000 of it that goes directly from the operating budget itself, principally through the police department, and it's budgeted in that account. The remainder of the $350,000 will get us up to the $825,000 annual contribution. Annual contribution to the trust fund. Trust fund right now has liabilities of around $19 million between town and school. It has about an 8.5% funded ratio. Over the next year, there'll be over $1 million contributed by the schools, which will push that ratio up probably in the 12 to 13% range. We're also going to be conducting a new actuarial study for OPEB, which will be for the effective date of July 1st of 2014. That will reestablish what the value of the liability is. I think the liability exposure is going to be reduced based on the changes that were made in 2011 with the pension changes. But it won't be sizable as far as the reductions, but again, we're dealing with both town and school costs in the trust fund because it's a joint trust. And I think you'll be glad to hear me say that that's the last account that we needed to go through.
Steve, what is the figure that, I think it was in the narrative, that the school department will transfer into the healthcare reserve?
They'll have $1 million that's going to be going out of their healthcare reserve fund.
We just sent,
I think what?
we sent the one that was.
All right, it's been sent?
Yep.
Oh, great.
All right, so it's been transferred during this fiscal year. That'll come out of the healthcare reserve fund. Remember, I said to you they had about $4 million in there. We've had them transfer another $1 million, so that what we want to do is to build up. There's about 12 communities that have set up trust funds, inclusive of South Kingstown. And the average is probably in about the 10 to 15% range as far as funding ratios. That should be climbing in the years as we go forward. I mean, the target would be to get it considerably higher than at the 10 to 15% rate. But OPEB trusts have just, really just come into a requirement for being recognized within the municipal financial statements. So, I think it's going to take a couple of years for those, for cities and towns to catch up. Many of the communities haven't set up the trust funds, nor have they begun setting money aside to meet what the ARC would be associated with those programs. We're ahead of the curve. As usual, we've got money going in with OPEB, we've got money for compensated absences, and we've got our reserve fund for health care as well. So all three of those are where we need to have flexibility and we need to have the funds in place, and we continue to annually make our contributions.
Great. Any other questions? Seeing none, no comments from the public. Yeah, I just want to say a big thank you, Steve. Again, the staff that presented tonight is just phenomenal, and I don't know how you keep track of all the different departments. It's So, any comments from any town councilor?
My back hurts, that's all I have to say. I can't sit anymore. And I
We
can
need to
see
get
Jim-
the EMS services for you.
I know.
This is too long, with no break. We need to have a 5-minute break. I don't want that.
Okay, Carol, adjourn. Let's have a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We officially